So here we go then. The first race of the day, the first race of the entire SailGP Championship. 6 wing sail catamarans ready for action, 6 crews with adrenaline coursing through their veins, enormous excitement. But surely, as we know, fire in the belly has to be accompanied by some cool heads as well.
They're going to be a nervous bunch today. And, you know, this start is not easy. To hit that line at maximum speed in these conditions, really difficult. Currently just watching the Aussie team. They look like they want to own the bottom end of the start line and are really controlling that spot. It's just when they go that's critical.
Well, if they get off the line clean and fast, they can dictate the race. The French are making really good headway. Japan and Australia in front at this point, but timing their run. The French crew under Billy Besson very, very tight to the Japanese, and they're across the line, and the Chinese, in fact, it is, who have started the fastest. The French have done extremely well. The Australians tucked in behind, but not really with enormous boat speed as yet. The Chinese, though, first to get up on the foil, Shirley.
Alex, speed is the king, and they timed that run from a long way out. Absolutely owned the first start here in Sydney.
The start of a brand new sailing adventure. SailGP is up and running down under, and it is the French who are leading the charge to Mark 1, with the Chinese close alongside. What a sight. 6 boats sweeping across Sydney Harbour, and round the first mark it is Billy Besson, considered something of an outsider, but making a storming start. Now, though, with excellent boat speed, the Australians, under the helmsmanship of Tom Slingsby, so experienced, so knowledgeable of these waters in particular. At the moment, USA and Japan, the back markers, as they jibe downwind for the first time this afternoon. What a start that is, and what an ideal moment to bring in the boss man of SailGP, the CEO, Russell Coutts. Russell, you'll be thrilled with the way that looks and the excitement already generated.
Yeah, I mean, fantastic start. Great to see Phil Robertson put it out there. That was a pretty high-risk start at the top end of the line. He could have easily been shut out by the other boats in the first moment in the race, and he pulls it off. The French just did a terrible job right there. I mean, terrible. Their handling's been letting them down.
I mean, I think we're seeing how crucial it is to be able to stay on the foils and to execute excellent manoeuvres. We saw the British parked back there. Commanding performance here by the Japanese, really doing 30 knots, just overtaking the Chinese here and Phil Robertson.
Terrific bit of work done by Nathan Outridge, the Australian who's in charge of the Japanese boat. Coming close to the boundary, pushing the boundaries, and on collision course with the Chinese. Goodness, how close that is between Japan and China. And once again, they're having to bear away and avoid confrontation, involved in a right royal tussle as the French head to the boundary edge themselves.
Yeah, if anyone thought Phil Robertson was going to be suffering from nerves from this, doesn't look like that. You know, he's putting it out there.
He's racing fast, he's racing aggressively, and of course a man who's spent a good deal of his sailing time in match racing. Those one-on-one duels really critical to him, so important to his competitive makeup. But it is Japan and Nathan Outridge who are flying towards that first downwind gate.
Nathan Outridge, he's played it down. Everyone thought he was the favourite, but he's come out here and put in an incredible performance. Interesting to see where they decide to go at this bottom gate. It's a really small course in Sydney Harbour, and when you're doing 30 knots, you get to the boundaries really quickly.
Looks like we've got the first split of the race. The Japanese heading one way, and the Chinese, under Phil Robertson, heading in the other direction. The French, after that blistering start, just looking to recover a little bit, maintaining good boat speed, and the rest, at the moment, nowhere.
I mean, when I looked at the course, I loved that left-hand side. The wind looks fresh and stronger on the left. When you get to the right, where the Japanese are going, you start to get under the wind shadow of Shark Island.
Here we're seeing the replay of that very, very tight cross between the Japanese and the Chinese. It goes without saying, they do everything within their powers to avoid coming together, surely, not least because they're incredibly expensive boats, and they've only got one of them.
The Japanese must keep clear in that situation, and Nathan manages to pull that off.
Yeah, it's interesting. You can see it's a light wind day, obviously, today. I think they've got around 7 knots, and when you look at the screen, you can see the different shades of darkness and light, and that's what the sailors are looking at. They're really looking to see where the wind is. The best sailors in the world can read the wind on the water and plan their course, and certainly, full marks to Nathan Outridge. They obviously looked at that bottom mark gate and decided to go that way, and looks like they've made a gain.
Australia sailing away to the right-hand side of your screen in last place at the moment, having raced so strongly in practice yesterday. But we have a 1, 2, 3 of Japan, China and France currently, and not a great deal between second and third. Nathan Outridge, as he will be very keen to do, Shirley, sailing his own race, choosing his own route, and of course searching, hunting all the time for little puffs of wind.
They're smooth when you watch them as well. When you hopefully will see them do a manoeuvre, it's so slick. He's sailing with a lot of the team that he sailed with at the Olympic Games and at the America's Cup, and I think when it gets tricky like this in light winds, that's when they begin to shine.
So Nathan Outridge and Japan sailing away out in front as it stands.
20 seconds, not that long.
Keen to play down the favourites tag, Nathan Outridge, but the man who unquestionably has the most amount of experience in terms of driving these boats, which are fearfully difficult. So many buttons apart from anything else, and of course half the fleet has not been all that used to sailing with buttons, only the one rope.
Lovely overhead view here of the pressure. You can see on the left-hand side the darker water coming down. And I think the Japanese did really well. They went to the right, but then they came back before they were interfered with Shark Island. And beautiful job there.
So the Japanese making a decent gain currently. The Chinese, who are just on the tail of Nathan Outridge, who won't feel safe at this point. Plenty left to do, of course. And Phil Robertson is enjoying his first outing in competitive match racing here in Sydney Harbour.
I spoke to him the other day, Ali. He said he's learning something new every 10 minutes. It's all new, but he is absolutely loving it. And he's had moments out here training where he's really shone.
So the Japanese out in front.
Actually, Billy Besson's got a nice little gust of wind. You can just see the dark line just above him, so he's able to accelerate in that, and he's coming into probably a little bit of lighter breeze now, but that right up there.
Able to apply the heat from third place, Billy Besson and the French crew.
Yeah, on the far side of that grade.
It is Nathan Outridge who's setting the pace currently. USA tucked in behind them.
Touch and go, mate.
And the crowd on Shark Island able to get a wonderful view now of the Japanese as they manoeuvre. And those manoeuvres absolutely key. If they're clean, if they're crisp, if the hulls are out of the water for the most part of it, they can maintain their boat speed, Shirley. Touchdown and you're losing pace quickly.
I mean, at least 10 knots, if not. In these light conditions, probably more. And the big tactical decision here as they approach the gate is which one to go around. And I think we'll see most of the boats choose the one on the right-hand side of the screen and just get away from Shark Island and the effects of that.
Check how far behind the Australians are. Wow. Definitely against the form.
Yep, they're a long way back, and Tom Slingsby will not be a happy man. The competitive fire burns very bright indeed. Top of your screen, top towards the left, the Australians. Another very tight crossing between the French and the British boats. Chinese, who made an excellent start, picking up decent boat speed as well.
Well, Ali, the British have incurred a penalty from that infringement.
You have a penalty relative to France. Penalty relative to France.
Yep, that was the coming together with the French crew, and that will take a little bit of time to be burnt off. The boats have to expend their penalties by slowing the boat down a boat length. That's judged by the umpires who are taking care of business there, and they will alert the boats as to when it has been served. Here's the tight crossing.
Well, I think, Ali, in this instance, the umpire can choose to make it longer. If it's felt that they gained an advantage from infringing the rule, then it can be a longer wait. And we've seen the British, they've been waiting and waiting and waiting until the French boat then gets ahead.
So Billy Besson outmanoeuvring Dylan Fletcher, in charge of the British boat and almost doubling the speed of the British as well. USA taking a long old time to make their way up the course, Russell.
You can see in that picture that the Chinese are right on the edge of a dark line. They're in good breeze, probably making a little bit of a gain on the Japanese at that point.
Yeah, I mean, they've got beautiful speed here. I mean, just nearly touching 30 knots, Japanese doing 18. Lovely acceleration.
Tight to the boundary, the Chinese, but always maintaining their speed, which is so essential here with the leader, Nathan Outridge in Japan.
Well, he's just fudged his drive, so probably left turn. Because I don't think he'll lay in, Nate. So if we go left turn, I'm pretty sure he's going to follow.
Well, lovely onboard comms. We heard Ian Jensen, the right-hand man to Nathan, just discussing what to do, that he would lay in, but his opposition wouldn't, which would mean he'd have to do another maneuver. So lovely judgment by the Japanese team.
And flying into the gate, heading upwind once more with a comfortable lead at this point, Russell.
Oh, massively, yeah. I mean, they're flawless, and don't forget they did not come off the start line well. In fact, I think they may have even been last around turning Mark 1 or near to it. Executed the first jibe well, got into a patch of favoured breeze and gone. Conversely, the Australians were lying in third on that first reach and just got rolled out of that first mark and are now pretty much done.
Well, it'll be very interesting to hear the thoughts of Tom Slingsby a little later on, perhaps, because he's been sailing so well. Their boat has been flying across the water in practice, as we see the Chinese, who will be well pleased with this start to their campaign, Shirley.
I had high expectations for them. They've looked great in training. Every day they've come out, they've looked more and more confident, and it's about confidence. You know, you have to be able to position your boat in the right place to know that you're going to pull off a maneuver, and every day, you know, the crew have got better and better, and I think we've seen that here today.
No reason to attack, really.
That experience that we talk about, Russell, I'd be interested to hear your view on this, but the skipper's very much saying that, quite apart from the confidence of the boat handling, it's the ability to shake off the error and just tuck it to one side and perhaps manipulate your way through the troubled waters, so to speak.
Well, there's no sense in focusing on the past. You can't change that. You've got to look at the future and just focus on how you can get back in the game. But you've got to think the Japanese fans are going to be watching this, are going to be pretty happy right now.
We're above Phil's line as well, so...
Little doubt about that.
Happy
They
to go
are
early, because we're going to be
going
above Phil anyway.
at full lick, well led. And of course, Nathan Outridge helping to grow a generation of young Japanese sailors as well. The aim is to make sure that that boat in a few years' time is staffed by an entire crew of Japanese sailors.
Well, the French team here, led by Billy Besson, 4 times world champion in the small foiling boat in the Olympic Games. And he's brought with him his crew from the Olympics. Marie Rioux, she's the flight controller. And, you know, it's all about communications and trust. And he was absolutely the first call.
Sometimes we've seen, certainly in the last few days that we've been here, a little erraticism from the French. They've been brilliant in parts, and yet some of their manoeuvres are lacking stability too.
There's not a great deal of finesse yet, I'd say, with the French team, Ali, but, you know, every day they're getting it better and better, and Billy's really good kind of free sailor. Let's just watch them do attack here.
In the meantime, Japanese out in front, setting the pace and enjoying that open water. What a start they've made. On board with the Japanese. The grinders up front, enabling the wing trimmer to do his job.
Yeah, put some in it,
tucked in behind them with the rope on that winch, just adjusting things as necessary. And at the moment, it's a team very much in sync. And this should be their last manoeuvre into the finish line.
Look behind them, Ali. I mean, one thing this boat is humbling. These are some of the world's best sailors, and the best sailors at sailing this kind of boat at this kind of speed, and they're a long way back.
So what a start to the Sydney SailGP for the Japanese outfit, led by Nathan Outridge, and from not the best of starts, they have come flying through the fleet and have sailed a very accomplished race. Race 1 of SailGP in Sydney, won by the Japanese, who pocket the full 10 points. Look at the way the Japanese are steaming into the picture with some 15 seconds left to go. They're cutting a very careful path through the fleet. Nathan Outridge looks to have timed this nicely, with the Australians on the outside track. Great Britain coming up on the rails as well, and all of these boats up on the foils as they hit the start line. It is Japan in front from Australia and Great Britain. The Chinese going great guns as well.
OCS
the USA,
Japan,
the back
OCS
markers,
Japan,
as the Japanese head off
USA
towards the
reference,
boundary
USA
on a
reference.
slightly different route to everybody else.
Well, the Japanese got a penalty there, over slightly early, and they will have to slow at least one boat length back on the rest of the fleet.
A very unfortunate penalty for Nathan Outridge and Japan right
OCS
at the
Japan,
outset. But
reference
what a
boat
sight
USA.
that is as they head to Mark 1, the drag race, well and truly up and running.
What a confident start. Now that's what we're talking about.
So they round the first mark, and the British and the Australians are going at a great pace. Lovely to see them right up on the foils from the outset, and just to get an excellent view of how this racing should be, how it was meant to be. These boats are designed to fly. They are designed to go very, very quick.
Well, the British didn't follow the Chinese and the Australians. They're waiting. They're going right to boundary, but they can't cross that boundary or they'll get a penalty.
Away they go, and hoping to pick up a little bit of extra breeze on the outside edge of the course, potentially, allowing Australia to steal a march to some degree. Certainly the boat speed is good, and you can be very sure that Tom Slingsby will not have been happy with the Australians' 4th place finish in the opening race of his home event. A man who can see Sydney Harbour from his house.
He's hungry for this, Ali. He wants the win. You know, he's won the America's Cup, but not steering. Gold medalist in London 2012. He wants to walk away here, crowned the champion.
Very, very competitive man, and somebody who's locked horns on so many different occasions, of course, with Nathan Outridge, but an excellent race for the moment from the British crew. Dylan Fletcher is performing nicely, and they're manoeuvring
Boundary
in
penalty,
slightly
USA.
careful, tentative fashion. The Australians are piling forwards. The Americans, we're hearing, have picked up a penalty on the boundary. Meantime, an excellent gate rounding by the Aussies.
Terrible jibe by the British. You know, you cannot go into one of those manoeuvres without everything absolutely perfect. The platform has to be flat. You've got to be ready to go. You've got to fly it beautifully round. And, you know, that's cost them a lot of speed and a lot of distance at the lead.
We're on board with the Aussies here.
Popping in 2, 1, popping. Copy, going to go below him. Pressing.
He's talking about pressing. He's going for speed. They're sailing the boat fast. They're not looking for angle. They're looking for speed.
Limited talk back, isn't there, at the moment from the Australians? Tom Slingsby, obviously the man in control, but that communication and that choreography between them all is so critical, isn't it? We'll talk about it a lot through these events, Shirley, but the way that they can communicate with each other, the faster they can do that, the clearer they can do that, the better they will sail these boats.
You know, it's really noisy on board. We got a glimpse of that with that on board. You know, you cannot hear yourself. That's why they have the comms system. But sail with your teammates long enough. You don't need to say very much. They intuitively know, you know, what you're thinking and what you're planning to do.
So the Australians way out in front at the moment, top of your screen, with the Chinese not a million miles behind, the Brits in third place at the moment as they head upwind. And we've spoken to the sailors a fair bit over the last fortnight, and they all say that foiling tacks, tough, much tougher to pull off than the foiling jibes, Shirley.
Particularly when it's light. There was so little power to deal with. You can imagine these great big foils, the drag from them under the water. You know, make one little mistake, you're building speed for a long time.
Chinese making up a bit of ground on the British boat at the moment. Out to the side of them. At what stage do these sailors begin to look over their shoulder, Shirley, and take a clear view as to what the other boats are doing and the tactics surrounding all of that? Because, of course, the British potentially here are in a position where they could affect the wind of the Chinese boat.
They're thinking about that, discussing it all the time. And they're not going, you know, 50 miles an hour today, so they've got a little more thinking time. Each boat will also have a tactician. Generally, it's the flight controller. And he has, his time to plan the attack.
So a tremendous response here from Tom Slingsby as he sails across Sydney Harbour, the waters that he knows so well. So excited to perform in front of a home crowd, a big crowd, of course, over on Shark Island for this opening day of racing. They've got a wonderful view. The Australians putting on a bit of a show at the moment after that fourth placed finish in the opening race of the day.
In these conditions, you really want to be minimizing the number of maneuvers you do. We've seen how costly, you know, if it doesn't quite go according to plan, how costly that is. But beautifully executed here by the Australians. Line that up with perfection.
Another very slick manoeuvre from those in green and golds. Slingsby, an America's Cup winner in 2013 with the USA as tactician, performed the same role in 2017 in Bermuda as well. But tight racing behind them between the French, USA and China also in the mix. And the Japanese coming up on the rails as well.
Billy Bisson is fast. Team France they have speed. They should stop turning the corners, I think. You know, they really have a kind of natural speed to make the boat go quickly.
Really good pace being picked up here by the Japanese as they head towards the gate. The Australians are well clear at this point. The French trying to hunt them down. Relatively tight crossing between the British and the Japanese, and indeed the USA. The Chinese have slowed up a little bit. But this is a real tussle in the middle of the fleet. That's anybody's. Round the gate and downwind once more. And a little puff of breeze here for the Japanese, extending beyond the Americans and Rome Kirby.
British have made a few mistakes, I think, out here today. They tacked there and got really slow and lost an awful lot of distance.
On board with the British team, Dylan Fletcher at the helm.
Stand by. Forward down.
That high-pitched whine, quite obviously, just goes up and up and up the faster they go. Listening to Nathan Outridge speak a couple of days ago, he was describing that position in the cockpit there as like riding a freight train with a fire hose being blasted in your face. It's very hard to concentrate. It's quite hard to see sometimes. Not quite the extreme conditions today that are going to confound the skippers, but the Australians have really come up with the goods in race 2. Powering forwards towards the 4th gate.
If you can get clear from that first leg, sail your own race and not be controlled by others or having to make manoeuvres when you're perhaps not quite ready, then you know, the Australians have done well here.
Seem to be in full control this time around, no doubt spurred on by what happened in race 1, but it's amazing how quickly ground can be made up, Shirley. We saw yesterday, didn't we, in very light air, crews that were, on some occasions, miles ahead of the fleet, ending up effectively being becalmed for a while, and other boats on the far side of the course picking up breeze, making huge gains in that time. And it would appear as if the Japanese have really found something over on that far side, because look at the speed they're going. Double the pace of the Australians, 30 knots at boat speed. They are screaming along right now.
They are not giving up, aren't they? Split tacks with the Australians at the bottom here and still keeping that pace, 26 knots.
Well, battle is joined, make no mistake about that, between Nathan Outridge and the Japanese crew, and Tom Slingsby in the Australian boat. The two old rivals going head to head. The Japanese just looking a little bit unstable as they tack up wind. Australia have gone right to the boundary edge. But look at the gain the Japanese have made, Shirley. I mean, that is a sensational effort.
They just carried that pace and they kept it for a really long time. But to me, it seems like there's lighter winds in this bottom left-hand corner, and we see the British here struggling to do that manoeuvre as well. And you know, perhaps Tommy Slingsby, he wasn't going as quick, but he was going the right way, and he'll cross ahead. Well,
the Aussies have just about maintained their lead, but it is a slender one now, and we can be sure of a battle royal between these two.
Just up there.
Here we are with the Australians.
A great comeback by Rome Kirby also into this.
We talk about the responsibilities, the various different roles of all of these sailors, Shirley. The front two grinding, obviously allowing the wing trimmer to do his thing with the rope on the winch. The helmsman at the back, and the flight controller who is operating the foils and flying the boat at the height that they consider to be the optimum height.
Yeah, I mean, the driver has this turning mechanism on the wheel, twist grip, that he can control the flight all the time. It gets harder in the maneuver because you know, you can't swap the boat and fly it at the same time. So that's when the real finesse of the crews come together.
And you can see exactly what's going on there with Tom Slingsby, those hands on the wheel, the twist grips that Shirley was talking about. I guess the responsibility grows as you head to the back of the boat. Effectively, we're kind of calling them the back three because they're the decision makers.
And they're choosing to do lots of maneuvers. Quite surprised by this, but I think they're just covering the Japanese. They know what a risk Nathan Outridge is. They're just trying to stay with them, not give them an opportunity to pass them.
Slingsby and Outridge with such a rich history between them. A pair of them have been racing each other since early teenage years. This is where we are at the moment. The Australians out in front, not by a great deal, but they are heading towards the finish line.
It's good pressure filling into top of
This is going to be a terrific finish, you feel. Have the Japanese got something extra in the tank? Can they pull something out of the bag here?
Well, we heard a bit of the onboard comms from the Australian team. They're happy. Good breeze coming down their sides is what Tommy Slingsby said, and I think they're comfortable with their positioning.
Well, this is the battle that everybody wanted to see. These are the two favourites in the fleet. They've got the two most experienced men in charge, and Tom Slingsby looks to have found the necessary riposte from race one. Nathan Outridge drawing first blood, but it is the Australians this time around who are heading to the finish line in front and sailing an excellent race. Powered forwards, perhaps stung by what happened in race one. A fourth place was not what Tom Slingsby had in mind, but here he has repaired that damage and claims the victory on home waters in front of home fans. Nathan Outridge not too far behind, and a 1-2 of Australia and Japan, something we may get used to seeing over the course of the next weeks and months. Back in the fleet, British and the French again, another very tight crossing between them. The Americans, though, looking to get on the podium, and they seem to have done enough at this stage. Again, a disappointing race to start with, to begin their campaign. And we've just learnt that there is, in fact, one more leg to go, so this is not done. And Australia and Japan will lock horns again at the front. Tom Slingsby looks as if he's really picked up an excellent bit of boat speed. Japanese not too far behind, but still with plenty of work to do. Shirley, in your expert opinion, are you seeing any wind shifts out there on the course? Are you seeing targets that they'll be trying to zone in on?
Yeah, it's not over yet. I mean, as we've seen all day, you know, it's really puffy course. Normally we have more pressure than this in Sydney Harbour, and so they'll really be looking for where the wind is stronger, but this battle's going to go all the way.
Okay, take up a lot. Okay, and hit it, Sammy.
Well, it's a great sight. And it is nip and tuck. What have we got? Around about 100 meters between the two.
I mean, now the decision is, you know, how to line up so that you get round the gate and when you jibe relative to the boat behind.
So it's not over till it's over. Nathan Outridge will be feeling that very, very keenly.
Both of them still have a jibe to do.
Yeah, plenty of work still to be done here, and it's going to be very interesting to see exactly how this plays out. Nathan Outridge the first to jibe, and the Australians very, very tight to the mark. They're going to slow up here, but they're probably going to have enough to get through, and confirmation eventually, a little later than advertised, it must be said, out in front and claiming the victory. That was a tight decision by Tom Slingsby, but how relieved he will be to have held off the challenge of the Japanese and claimed his first win here in Sydney Harbour.
Getting these boats back on the water, and we have got 17 seconds to go before the start of race number 4, and you'll see Team China is trying to get the leeward end. Team Australia is coming in very hot. Has he nailed his time on distance here, Shirley?
Well, he's going fast, Jodie, and we saw that yesterday. It was all about hitting that line at maximum speed, and he won that battle. And
Tom Slingsby certainly was quite cranky that Nathan Outridge and the Japan team won all 3 races yesterday, and he's came out today and showed him he is in here for business.
OCS
so Team Australia on their way towards the first mark. Just trying to hold up Team France there a bit. Team USA's also had a fairly good start. Team France, not so good yesterday, but they're back in the mix today.
Aussies much happier today. They have a new rudder. They've been complaining about that all day, and yesterday had a broken wing. But all good to challenge for that top spot today in San Francisco.
And it's going to be the local boat, Team USA, leading into the first mark. And this is where the high speeds start coming in. The boats go screaming down in front of the crowds. 40-odd knots of boat speed, and they are just on their way now towards the boundary line where they're going to do the first jibe. This is where it gets critical. They have to nail this first jibe. They also have to watch out for the start-finish line there, like Team France had to go over the top of.
The British have done well here. You say that they've got lower, which means they have more options. They can jibe when they want to. They've sailed well from that top mark.
Very close cross there for Team France and Team America. Team France did not get their jibe done too good, and that could cost them a little bit in this setup towards the bottom end of the mark. But looks like now everybody is on the port jibe on their way down. And we're just on the replay for the start. You see Team China here holding up France. Very, very close. Team Australia going up underneath Team China as well. So all boats within a metre or so of each other, doing around about 30-odd knots. So that is pretty amazing. And Team Japan copped the penalty out of that. So it is back into the live racing. And it is USA still leading by Great Britain. Team Australia are coming in pretty hot there, Shirley. This is looking pretty good for a setup.
I spoke to the American coach this morning. They're really pleased with the improvement from Sydney. That's what they were going to do differently today. It's like more of the same, just more attention to detail.
Beautiful shots here of the onboard as the guys go through the jibe. We're just going back out now. Right on the ley line, all boats. Australia have jibed on the inside. Will that be a pivotal moment here? Can Team Australia roll over the top of the USA? Looks like he's done a great job there, Australia. And have a look who's coming back into play. Team Japan, Great Britain are in there. This is all on this race. Team USA led at the first mark, also leading at the bottom. Oh, Team Australia, massive big round up there. Team Great Britain must have watched them because they've done exactly the same and just slid around that mark, and they're going to fall down off the foil. So not sure what's going on there with these boats at that bottom mark, but that looked pretty loose.
Conditions still really puffy. You can see that from the aerial shot. It's overcast, the thermal breeze hasn't quite developed, and there's big holes on that left side.
It looks like now Team Australia have got the lead back off USA, so that nice little loose rounding of Rome and the boys on the USA boat have certainly cost them. Japan coming in from the right-hand side now, have got themselves back into the mix. They're one of the ones that had the technical issue with the wing not being able to pop. They didn't have much time to practice being out the bay, so I think they need practice. They've got that thing going pretty good. Great shot there of Australia and Team USA just coming through pretty well, about a third of the way down this, or up this work at this stage.
Aussie's sailing fast. I mean, Tom thinks that, you know, his boat's different today. It's a new boat. He's much happier, and he told me he was going to push. They were going to sail higher than they had been before, that they had to do something to match the pace of the Japanese.
And when you say they're pushing higher, we've got a whole new control system here with these boats. It's a new flight system, so the flight control is basically controlling the height and the pitch of the boat for about 99% of the time. So it's a massive amount of coordination. You'll see there Tom Slingsby has not got his hands on the twist grips. It's all about Jason Waterhouse flying these boats.
But interesting, Jody, that the boat on his hip, the American boat, they are running the old system. Ron Kirby is flying his boat except for in the manoeuvres. They didn't want to change too much, which frees up Taylor Canfield, the flight controller, to be a tactician, to look around and to make decisions. And today is working for them.
It certainly is working for them at this stage. Beautiful shot of both boats going through a simultaneous tack there. On board now with Team USA. Just going to go on board and listen to what the guys have got to say here. And you can hear there's the grinding of the winch. So the wing trimmer, is in and out all the time with the rope, and the guys on the pedestals are just whining all day, and that's what that grinding noise is. Team GBR's done a nice little tack here over on the right-hand side. If they can come out of that pretty good, that's going to set them up for this top part of the course quite nicely.
I mean, the British, one of the standout performances yesterday, the most improved from the last event. You know, they are fired up to make that final, and this is what today is all about. It's getting into that final race in first or second.
They look quite nice there in the middle of the course with about 250 metres to go. Team Australia and USA are way over off the Yacht Club side of the course. The Great Britain look really good, Shirley. I think, and I don't think, I know, they are now in the lead.
To me, it looks a risk. At the top of the course there, it's lighter often and puffier, and Great Britain have capitalised on that.
They've got to make sure they nail this tack, because there's a couple of hungry boats in Australia and USA coming over here pretty quick. Team Japan also coming back in from the left-hand side of your screen. So we'll see a split here in the top of the course.
Bearing away too.
Australia having to duck in behind Japan there because Japan has all the rights of way, being a starboard boat. Team Australia are going to the left-hand mark at the top as we are looking at it, and Japan are heading into the shore.
Impressive comeback by the Japanese. They didn't have any warm-up time. They a boat full of tacticians, and they're right back in the game.
And that shot there shows that the breeze looks like it might be a bit puffy here and a little bit of increase. So we should see some nice high speeds and maybe some cool action on the way down here. Stay nice on Team Japan. They're going all the way towards the yacht club, right in front of all the spectators, and they'll be setting themselves up for a jibe soon. A little bit loose on the right height there, but they've got to be close to a jibe. But look at they've got a great little shot down that shore. If they can come out of there, they might have pulled some spots.
Look at the pace of the Japanese. They have found some pressure along that shore.
And here they go through the jibe. These are all the critical moments. If they get the jibe wrong, they just lose so many points. The positions, time, the whole distance thing is just lost. Great on shot here with Team Japan. You see the skipper, Nathan Outridge, just looking at his options. He can do that. He's actually flying the boat. You look at his right hand, you see him twist the grip on the wheel. That means he's in control of the boat. And that's probably why, because they had to go up and around the back of Team Australia, and that gets pretty sketchy, that sort of a manoeuvre. So the helmsman needs to make sure that he's in control.
Tom Slingsby and his Australian team, they just look different today, don't they? They can get out of trouble. It looks like they have mode. They have confidence in their machine, and he is fully pumped to challenge to get into that final race today.
But it is the great British team leading into the mark for the bottom mark for the second time, and a nice shot there of them coming around the right-hand gate. So they're going to go back out to the middle of the course. Team Australia coming into second. Japan are now into third. So USA have lost out a little bit there in distance. Japan heading in to the beach. Australia and USA all going out. So obviously those three boats, Shirley, have found or seen something out wide that they like.
I asked Chris Draper this morning, the wing trimmer, what their strategy was today, and he said, we're going to let Dylan just lead with his intuition to make his own decisions and use his own flair.
That shot there looks like Japan is in front, but I'm pretty confident in saying that Great Britain are still smoking this race. This will be a big confidence boost for this team if they can get a win. They've only got to get up to the last mark and then into the finish, and that's going to put some valuable points on the leaderboard for them, that's for sure. You see the cross here with Great Britain and Japan. It's around about 50 metres difference. Japan might have done a nice job. They can cross Australia fairly comfortably here. So Japan into second spot. Oh, that's a nice close cross. These guys are converging at around about 75 to 80 knots. It is out of control that these blokes can get these boats so close without any major drama.
Just imagine what that's like in your car. It's scary in a car, never mind on a boat.
And we're just seeing a Team Japan attacking over there. But Great Britain, I think they've pulled a little bit more distance out here. They've got that thing wound up. We've got about probably 600 metres of the work left to go before they get up to the turn mark. Not long.
Jody, flatter water at the moment. So we've talked a lot about how hard it is to fly high in the waves, but a lot more straightforward today. And you can see all the platforms a lot more stable than perhaps we saw at the end of yesterday.
And it's all about the coordination. The flight controller needs to be in sync with the wing trim, and the wing trimmer needs to be in sync with the helmsman. If one of them get it wrong, that's when we start seeing the boats out of control.
Well, Chris Draper on the lead boat here in GBR, he said, we just have to give Dylan a stable platform and let him make decisions. And that's exactly what it looks like they're doing.
And he's making some pretty good decisions at this stage because he is leading, and it looks like they're setting up for possibly their final tack into the last mark. awesome shot there of the tack. That is sensational.
You can hear him getting feedback all the time on the other boats. They're like, Nathan's done a good tack.
And the Aussie team, the Australians, are coming back into it. This is getting close. This is getting very, very close. The Australians still have to do another tack, so they're going to lose a bit of distance there. Japan still have to do another tack. They're going to lose a little bit of distance. Has Great Britain got the lay line? And we're just about to see whether they have. It looks like they're on a tight lay to me.
You know, they might be doing 40 knots, but it's still a tactical boat race, and I've been so impressed by that. It's still about making the right decisions at the right time and executing it.
And it is the team from Great Britain leading into the final mark for the first time and on their way into the finish. So unless something really, really bad happens, it's going to be a win, and a very well-deserved win, I must say, to the team from Great Britain. Have a go at the race for second. Great Britain over the line first, but Team Japan is holding up Australia. We need to... Coming in, can this be? Oh, Australia just put the bow in massive, and it's Japan in through for second, and Australia just lost out there in for third spot. That was amazing.
30, 29, 28.
There's not enough room behind the start line, so they've all come in from the race course side, and it looks like Great Britain are trying to get into the bottom end of the line. Australia attacking. Maybe they'll try and hold up Japan here. Japan are sort of sliding down. Great Britain have parked in, which is going to stop Japan being able to pull their bows away. Rome Kirby's already loaded up here, Shirley.
It's not about positioning, it's about pace. Keep an eye on those boat speeds.
Big trim, boys.
They've done all right there to get over the bow of Great Britain there in Japan, and we are off for the final race. 3 boats have parked it, 3 boats are on their way, and it is USA leading by Japan, and France are also in the mix this time. Great Britain off the line pretty much last with China, and Australia, are they just conserving energy? Do they know that they're already into the final? Of course they do.
I think, Jodie, they just got all mixed up with other boats. Big mistake.
And it's a nice race here into the first mark, with Japan just getting inside of Rome Kirby in the USA. So Japan around first, Rome Kirby into second. France, great job by France to be up there in third. And Australia are chasing hot in fourth.
And driving.
Have a go at how quick they're going to get once again down to that bottom mark. Both boats doing a nice job there. Australia probably need to get a good job. Looks like they're in a great puff. They might be able to get on the inside of France. It looks like they've got a little bit of a problem trying to manoeuvre through that jibe. So I'd say they've lost their third spot there, France. But it's Japan into the bottom mark first. USA in second. And the Aussies are chasing, because Tommy Slingsby knows that it's all still. You still need to gain points. Every point matters.
I think they saw, you can see that puff of wind coming down. I think that's why they've all gone round that left-hand side, using the puffs to get up to the top mark.
And that's a great illustration there. Keeping your boat speed in, Australia just went straight in underneath this USA boat, which are on board now.
What's going on? Okay, setting up, trimming up. Yours, trimming away. Go hard, go hard.
It's interesting. They're just saying they might have some sort of an issue. They can't quite identify what. Rome's just tacking off. France need to be careful here. They need attack as well. Here we go, port and starboard. Very, very close here between USA and France. France, there's a late, very, very late tack on France. Gonna have to get a penalty there, surely. Rome and the USA team were still inside that boundary, or that protected boundary. You can hear Billy Besson there, very, very animated there, Shirley. That was very close indeed.
I mean, the American boat didn't give him a massive amount of opportunity to take, you know, to avoid him, and he's not happy. We're just waiting to hear from the umpires.
Yeah, it looks like at this stage that we haven't seen a penalty, so they must be thinking it's all clear. So he's done a great job there, Billy Besson and the team from France, to throw that thing on the inside of the USA boat. So they're now racing in for second spot. Looks like they've got a nice little pressure off that right New York side of the course. And just as we say that, off the foils they come. So we're even getting confused with what's going on out here in this course. So it's about who can get up to this mark in a low boat mode. But the team that's still leading is the Japanese, and they'll go across to that right-hand gate.
You can see the yellow circles on the water. Whoever hits that yellow circle, the zone first, has all the rights to make the turn.
Have a go at Australia. They just took both those boat sterns because they were on port. Tommy threw it up into the wind, in and around, and chasing Japan for second. So he's come from 4th to 2nd in a heartbeat. Look at this race. This is the race for 3rd.
Oh,
USA
the Americans just squeezed round.
France are going over to the right-hand side where Australia have parked. There's no breeze there at this stage. USA, will this be the big move? Can they come across this right-hand side? Local boys, surely they know what's going on out here, Shirley.
They are flying. Jody, imagine you're American and you're sailing here, right in front of Manhattan, potentially about to win a medal.
They've got a Lady Liberty on their wing. They are sailing for that home team, and here they go into the jibe. Japan look nice out in that middle part of the course, but they have done well. They've got themselves into second by just going to that left-hand gate at the top.
But Jody, look at the French. Look at the top of your screen, ladies and gentlemen. The French are coming back in that massive puff of wind, the big shadow that we see.
Billy Basson is fired up. He threw it underneath Rome there in the USA boat on that little port starboard incident, and he is coming downhill at a great rate.
Yep, keep it on the breeze. It's going to be
They want to get this, they want 3rd. There's no doubt about that. They want it hard.
Oh, but Jody, he's running out of pressure. You can see the speed dropping.
He's got to do a really late jibe here. He's going to go past the actual, what we call the ley line, and it's going to be another boat-on-boat here incident between, I can't believe it, USA and France. They are just chasing each other everywhere they go. USA are going uphill. France have gone completely past the marks.
I'm not sure what happened on that French boat. They needed to jibe, and they didn't. They must have had a problem on board.
Oh, either that or it just comes up to him so quick, that bottom mark, because his course is so short. So a little tiny little lapse in concentration, and you fly past the mark. Look who's last or second last in this race. The Aussies. They were second around the top mark and parked it.
The star of the show here is the American boat. Currently in first, right off Manhattan. It's a good moment.
He did say that he was pretty fired up to go out there and show them that he means business today after losing his wing trimmer yesterday, and the whole program got thrown up in the air. Rome Kirby is definitely delivering here as we speak on the Hudson River.
It means a lot to finish 3rd. You know, the Australian team and the Japanese, very experienced sailing these boats. The other teams are playing catch-up, and boy, they are catching up quickly.
They certainly are. But we've still got another upwind and half an upwind and another leg to go. So, as we've seen, there's been about 6 million different lead changes already. I'm guessing there's going to be some more.
I got the bear weight, my rig. Your rudders. Yeah.
But USA have got a great lead there, Shirley.
The stand-in wing trimmer here arrived at Newark Airport at 1 o'clock this afternoon.
Power me up.
Not changing his wetsuit on the plane.
Long way. Getting close here, probably.
We'll just listen to what they're saying here with his jibe. This will be nice comms.
Gotta go, Romy. Yep.
And they've let us down. There's nothing for them to say. They're just gone. Thank you very much, Rome, for that. That's awesome.
Yep. Okay, go board. Teach. Yours.
Stand by popping too.
Yep.
Popping now.
Nice. My rig.
Yeah,
Good job there. They just touched down in that jibe, so there's just enough breeze for them to go not quite a full foil, but they're still back up and falling, which is, just as I say that, we've dropped off, so big light patch in the middle.
Dude, it's so hard. The coordination between the flight controller, the wing trimmer, and the helmsman. It's like driving a car and looking at the sat-nav, and someone else doing the gears and the accelerator and the brake. It is so difficult to coordinate.
I got it.
Got nice pressure there. You can see him bow down in towards that bottom mark, so they're still leading.
There's good pressure over her left shoulder, so.
This is last bottom mark, as you just heard there from USA.
And good pressure over their shoulder. They're happy where they are.
New territory for Rome Kirby and the team from USA. Nathan Outridge in Japan are not going to let him have it all his own way, because they are coming down here in an absolute beauty of a gust, and they've gone from a long way behind to 1.5 to 2 bay lengths to right behind him, straight over the top of Japan, USA. That is very close once again. Oh my God.
The Japanese have to keep clear. They're coming in from behind, no rights. They had to keep clear.
They were so close. The whole hole was right over the top of USA. And look who's back in the mix. USA, Australia, Japan. This race is not over, ladies and gentlemen. Hold on, do not go anywhere. This could be anything.
Yours? Popping 2, 1, popping out. Yep, mine. Yours.
Still done a nice job tacking. Done a nice job tacking off that shore. Here's the replay. You see Japan coming right from behind him. Heaps and heaps of speed. Get a lot of height out of that thing. Drops down in the water, straight up underneath the rudders again of the USA. Very similar to what happened in San Francisco with the Aussie side. That was pretty insane.
She's got no wind compared to them.
Tommy's complaining about no wind. USA in plenty of wind. 35 knots as opposed to 25 knots of boat speed of Japan. So here's the race. It looks like it's going to be between USA and Japan.
Line.
Power me up. Fully powered up, bro. Yep. Good lead from Jip. Nice. Good pressure at the mark.
We got a good. Oh, no. We're good. We're good.
We're hearing the comms between the wing trimmer and the helmsman. Really calm on board. Nice job.
So they have to nail this tack. They've done a really good job separating there with Japan. It was all about a race. Now, USA have to do a good tack and hopefully get breeze. Can Australia get breeze from down below? They're up and got one hull out of the water, just dropped it back down as we spoke. They're going to come in towards China here, so they're almost an obstruction in the middle of the course. Japan have to go around China. Australia have to go around China. In the meantime, USA are around the top mark and heading in towards the finish for what will be a historic first win for Team USA on their home waters, Shirley.
My rate.
It's not over yet, Jody, but they will get the biggest cheer in Manhattan when they cross that line. What a weekend they've had. You know, they lost their vital crew member yesterday, and today to pull this win out the bag would be quite something. To take third here in New York City, that's a day for memories.
There will not be a prouder American than Rome Kirby if he can pull this off. He will loving it. He's looking back. He's very, very nervous. He's like a young boy at his first dance. He doesn't know what to do. He just wants that boat up and foiling and heading in towards the finish here to New York, and that's exactly what's going on. He's just getting it up now.
Got it. Hold back.
And you can hear them. They just want to get it up and get it going. Japan have done a nice job by separating.
Take trim, boys. Take one. Press in here. Finish it strong, boys.
Finish it strong. You hear it there from Tommy Johnson. A lot of pressure on the flight controller. Don't get it wrong now. We've got 100 metres to go, and USA are about to get their first win. Ladies and gentlemen, get up and clap, because there it is.
First race win. There we go. In the bag. Nice job, boys.
He heard you, Jody. That is a big moment for this young man and his team. Good job.
Yeah, wasn't ideal.
Well done to them.
Nice job, boys.
Awesome work, boys. Nice one.
Well, we saw how powerful the Japanese starting style was. You know, get it up from a long way away and send it to that line. But in these conditions, that could be much harder to pull off.
You can hear there Tommy Slingsby saying he's a little bit early. He's just trying to wash a little bit of speed off. China's way down the bottom. Japan has to really slow up here.
Oh, that's a big error. Look how slow they are.
Here we go.
And off they go. So Phil Robertson might have got that start. Billy Besson once again. He's been starting fantastic on that French boat for this regatta, Shirley.
Yeah, I got him.
We can see the wing wash on the screen. The bad air coming off the Japanese and hitting everyone behind. But great start from China. Buoyed up by that 3rd place in the last race.
For the Australian fans out there, don't despair, because they had a very similar start in the last one and ended up coming back and winning. So it ain't over yet. But it's Japan going over the top of the rest of the fleet here, coming into the first jibe mark in good position with nice boat speed. 32 knots in about 8 knots of wind. That is pretty incredible.
Beautifully done by the Japanese. Got the inside position. They can now decide to carry on and jibe whenever they want.
You see a shot back there to the whole fleet. Everyone's starting to do their jibes. China.
Aussies jibing right at the mark. They like the right-hand side of the screen in the last race, and well, maybe hoping just to get something out there, get them back in the game.
And you can see the angle all the boats are doing on the jibe, which means it's very, very light. So they need to get the boat in, get the boat speed built back up so they get up on the foils to be able to send it downhill like the Chinese are doing right now.
Jody, today's weather has been the top of the week. 20 knots plus, gusting 30. And actually,
when's the weather ever been correct ever? Anyway, they've got to deal with what they've got to deal with, and that is all we can do here in any sailing event. And China are doing a nice job in leading this fleet downhill.
The boat will be jibing before that boat. 15 seconds. Okay. A little further. Little trim. Little waves. Okay, stand by. More down. 2, 1,
Great illustration there, Shirley, of the communication that comes off the boat. So important everybody knows what they did, so it's a big effort that Australia could win that race, yet the last race without any comms at all. But Phil Robinson is still leading this race. He has done a great job at getting downwind here. Japan's come back into the mix as well. They've come from probably a very light end spot. They were the furthest to go over into that ley line at the very top and struggled to come out. But he's found something.
Chinese firmly in the battle for that last place on the podium. 3rd spot, it means a lot. Currently 5 points adrift of Great Britain. But if the positions stay like this, it could be very much on.
Maybe they need a virus in the group every day at race time, because they are going so well. There's a little bit of chat they weren't even going to be sailing today because of the virus, but they're handling it quite well, because currently they're leading the Japanese, and then it looks like the Aussies are coming into the bottom mark now in 3rd spot. And they're all, at this stage, choosing this right-hand gate downhill.
Aussies great speed round that turning mark. They never drop below 23, 24.
The only boat at this stage not to choose that one is Dylan Fletcher, who's also got a virus on board. There's viruses everywhere in the fleet at the moment, so which isn't handy, but they're dealing with it. Looks all right there, Dylan. He came around in a nice lift. So is it a drag race now over to this right-hand side?
Lock it in here, lad. Coming up, Trip. 20 seconds.
Yeah, it looks like the British have really closed up that gap, and we heard the wing trimmer Chris Draper saying, lock it in, lads, just really drive for pace.
Brett, a little bit. Gate has been shortened to 0.82. Gate has moved upwind.
So we've just heard the course has been slightly shortened just to get that top mark away from that big break wall, so that it helps these guys with their falling capabilities. But China are still leading from Japan. Great Britain had a nice close cross there with the Australians.
This would be such a result for China. A really difficult start to the season. Disaster in San Francisco, and have been getting better and better.
Have a go at Phil Robinson's heart rate. Only 50%.
Pump it 2, 1. Good.
Nice header, nice left. Okay, not far off attack here, guys.
Phil's hardly got a pulse. He's not stressed out about the day.
The other guys, the other one's the grinder. He's running at 90% max, so you can see he does all the work on these boats.
You know, Phil Robertson, he's used to a bit of tension. Match race world champion. He takes stress in his stride.
He's taking stress in his stride quite well at the moment because he's leading two of the best in Nathan Outridge and Tommy Slingsby.
Quick, setting up.
Slow, the Chinese just looking at their speeds look a little slow.
Right, here we go. Oh, sorry. It's all right, keep going, we're going good. Here we go, then taking off. Yep.
You hear the despair there coming off the Japanese. Nathan wasn't quite happy with how he entered into that tack. But have a go at the Australians coming back into it. They were second last again off the start. And they're pretty much doing exactly what they did in race one. They're just coming back through this fleet, pretty much sending a warning that they've got plenty of boat speed, Shirley. That's one thing they definitely do have.
I think the Aussies change gear very well. Carl Langford, the wing trimmer, it's his job. He calls the mode. He's in charge of pace. And they just seem to be able to link the pressure together to maximise what they've got. And we don't see them often with two hulls in the water.
They're not going to like this. Nathan Outridge and the Japanese dumping all over the top of them just to give them as much wing wash as they can. But it's still Phil Robertson and the Chinese team. They haven't won a race yet all series, so will this be the day? They've got one more windward leg. They've got to go back down the bottom and back up the top again. And then into the finish, but they've got two very fast and hungry people in Nathan Outridge and Tom Slingsby coming at them. They want the wins.
Nice. Okay, now take the height. Want to go high mode? Lost the rudders. Okay, keep going. Take height. Got it. Yep, going.
Japanese boat had to go behind them. They were give-way boats.
Keep right turn. Easy as you can. Copy that. Go early, My right.
So here they want the right-hand gate there.
Yes. Now we are. Sit down, stand by 10. 2.
Look at the gates. I mean, a massive skew
Go, boys, go.
in terms of angle. The one nearest us at the bottom of the screen.
Flag it.
Way closer.
Almost like sailing.
I think they thought they might have they caught Phil Robertson and the Chinese out there, but I think they were in the zone by the time that the Japanese come over. So the Chinese now trying to get up on the foils. He'll start turning that bow around right on cue. There he goes, sending it downhill. Nathan Outridge and the Japanese fall all the way around there, Mark.
I'm not sure why Nathan necessarily flagged that. If you get into the zone first, you have all the rights to turn.
So Australia also want to come over this right-hand side. So at this stage, Nathan Outridge and his Japanese are the only ones.
Can you repeat the course change, over?
Chinese flying high, over a metre at times.
Course change is lure gate shortened up.
You're right.
0.75 nautical miles.
On lane.
Lure gate has been shortened.
Okay, so as you hear there, the leeward gate has been shortened up, so they've made the adjustment down the bottom. But have a look what's happened to Japan. They went over to the left-hand gate, went over, and they have got big losses. It's all about China just sending it downhill now. Remember, they went around this top mark pretty much together, Shirley.
Good there. Driving left.
Massive loss from Japan.
They are in super struggle, and here's the cross. Phil Robertson was already in the zone. You see his lights are flashing, saying he's within the zone, the green light on the back. So Nathan Outridge had to just take him at his stern. Even though he's on starboard, he was still pretty safe there, Phil. So well done for Phil and his team for holding their nerve on that one.
Phil Robertson's good at this. The more sniggly and difficult and street fighting it is, he's absolutely in his element. Flying the boat really hard. I mean, just looking at some of their stats, they're up over a metre sometimes. You feel really confident in their pace.
And you can see the Aussies also went the same way as the Chinese, and they have also put a big dent in the Japanese. They're in the second spot now of the Aussies. So it was all about getting out of that seaside with that big wind shift that goes to the right. It was funny that the Japanese thought that they'd want to go up underneath that break wall where it was pretty puffy and light. So bad mistake there by Nathan and his crew. He'll be ruining that right now.
Okay.
Tommy's keen to go over to the right down low. I think this is more about setting yourself up to get one tack off this boundary and then get into the middle of the course, back over on the seaside. Shirley, how would you read that?
We've got to go pretty early here. Stand by, building. Touch and go. Ease, big ease.
Yeah, I mean, to me, he looks headed and light there. I'd be trying to get out of that corner.
Nice, Sammy.
And if he gets headed going in, it means he's going to get lifted coming out, so he might get something, some sort of little private one on the bottom end of this course.
Nice, boys. Okay. Now take the height.
So Phil Robinson, he's got one more work to go.
Boys, hit it. And that's a nice shift. Yeah. Heavy numbers. Yeah, just going to keep a little lead here, Lon. Just take the height when you can. Going in like 20 seconds, okay? Okay, get some speed up first then. Pressing.
We're hearing a lot of dialogue, not only from Phil, but also from Paul Campbell-James, the wingman. I mean, watching the platform, they're up and down. Not nearly as rock steady as what we're used to looking at from the Aussies and the Japanese, but keeping it fast.
Right. Not attacking, Leo.
He was just about to go for an attack and he got a big lift and he had to call it back. So that was a little bit of a moment there. You see here another moment that's about to happen. The Japanese and the Australians are coming back into it. Japan, who went to the left-hand gate, have got back in front of Australia, who went to the right, and pretty much fell into a pretty big hole over there, Shirley.
Not great, but okay.
You can never relax. It is never over. And we sort of saw that at the bottom, Jodie, that left-hand corner. High risk.
Very much so. So now Tom Slingsby needs something off this seaside. He got it in the first race. He'd be hoping that he gets over here again. Looks like Japan are going over to the left. China are coming over here with the Aussies. China possibly have one more tack in towards the top and into the finish for their first ever win in SailGP. And they will be pretty stoked for a group of people who have got lots of sickness on board.
All right. Pressing, not able to pop. Okay, 2, 1.
Not able to pop. Not enough boat speed to get both hulls out the water.
We'll be strong. We'll get stronger. Yeah, good pressure.
So the cross between Australia and Japan is going to be very close. It's about who can get up and get foiling first and build that boat speed.
Good path here, TJ. Got that shoulder.
This victory, they'll have to go around this mark and turn right. This victory will be so sweet for that Chinese team.
Okay, the Aussies and the Japanese are close again. They just will not let each other go. Australia now in front of the Japanese. He's looking around. Where's he going? What's he going into? He's not going to let him go and get something special. Meanwhile, the Chinese, all they have to do, they've got 100 metres to go to get towards that top gate. One tack to the right and into the finish in front of the big crowd on the break wall here in Marseille, who are definitely braving the elements, I must say. Good on them for doing that.
Help it down, Jimbo. Help.
Japan, sorry, going right over to the right-hand lay line. You see that yellow line. And here's Phil Robertson.
Still back. Try and go neutral.
Just, that is so painful at the moment when he's trying to get up to that gate.
Yeah, it is. I think we're just...
They're supposed to be foiling these boats, but there's absolutely zero foiling going on right now.
Configurated, of course, for 20, 30 knots. So pretty underpowered, small boards, tiny jib, really difficult in this light area at the top of the course.
But just as they come in towards the finish, they're up and foiling. And here is the first win for SailGP ever for China. Well done, Team China and Phil Robinson. Awesome job.
Nice one, boys. Solid. Yeah, buddy.
So light at the top of the course here. Better as we go down, and so hard to get your time and distance on this.
So China, Phil Robinson, the world match racing champion, he's in for the podium. He's got a chance. He's trying to be the aggressor here. He's pushing the boats up. As you can see, USA is just above him, and they are slowly going over the start line. We're not quite sure where the Great British team is at this start. So there's only 4 boats. We need to emphasise that. The Australians and the Japanese don't have to race this fleet racing. They are currently out on the course doing a little bit of training and getting ready for the big grand final race. But these boats are still waiting for a final position. So it's between China and the USA at this stage, only doing 10 knots, Shirley. Very light underneath this breakwall.
Well, it would be good to see what happened to Great Britain, Jodie. I mean, we heard on the onboard comms, Phil Robertson, the World Match Race champion, said, let's take it to the Brits. So I suspect there was a little bit of argy-bargy before the start.
Just desperately trying to get up and fall in there is the USA, but it is very light out there indeed.
Trying to pop. Maybe, yes, trying to pop. No, it did.
They've got the big boards on today, the small rudders. They need about 15 knots of boat speed in order to pop. We can hear them say that on board. And there they go. It's amazing, isn't it, Jodie? Hardly any wind. And these boats are flying.
They are so efficient. It is unbelievable. And they're up and going. And they're already doing 23 knots in around about 8 knots, like you said. We still haven't seen where the British boat is. So for any, there they are, right on cue. They've finally decided to join the party with the rest of the 3 boats, so they've obviously had a bit of a shocker at that start. Not exactly sure what's happened there, but the race is on here between USA. Rome Kirby hasn't had the best weekends at all. Shirley, he was a chance of getting into the final. Slim may it be. Now he's duking it out for the final, like to get away from the wooden spoon position.
Go, Rome. I'm trying. Roll it, T, set it down. Yep. Straight into a pop. Yep. 2, 1, now popping. Big trim.
Yeah, Rome Kirby had a bit of gear failure early on and just never ever found his groove. But good to see him out on the front of the pack today.
And none of these skippers, as competitive as they are, not one skipper in this fleet wants to get that final position in the fleet after season 1, because it's a long off season to wear that. And the USA are certainly doing the best job to keep that title away from them, because they're coming into the bottom gate for the first time. 25 knots of boat speed and about 8 knots of breeze. Not many boats in the world can do that, Shirley. And it looks like it's pretty much a one-way course at this stage, Shirley. The breeze looks like it might have gone a fairly bit hard right with the height that these boats are coming out of that bottom gate.
Oh, the Americans just lost a massive amount of pace.
We're only seeing about 6 knots of boats wind speed on the water off these boats. So very, very light at this stage. British coming back in.
I would not write Dylan Fletcher and his British team off. You know, in all the practice racing and all the conditions, they have been very fluid, very fast, good manoeuvring. And yeah, I would be wary of them.
It was an interesting when you said manoeuvring. They just did a real late-minute decision to bail out and go to that right-hand gate. So maybe they're seeing the rest of the fleet is parked up in a big hole, so they want to go to the other side of the course and maybe go right around the rest of this fleet. So we'll soon see how that unfolds. China looking like they're probably the first one to disappear away from the hole. Poor old Rome Kirby in the USA. His weekend of despair is continuing. He's just got into a hole and needs to get out of it.
I just think, Jodie, they don't mode very well, and the conditions here are ever changing, and you need like a really experienced team, and I think they just don't really make those transitions terribly well.
You can see there the Aussies are just parked off the side of the course. They're getting themselves geared up for this big grand final, which we're all waiting for. We cannot wait for Japan versus Australia, but we still have to find out who is going to make the podium, and that's exactly what we're doing right here. Phil Robertson, he's had a good weekend so far, Shirley. They weren't going to race yesterday. They were sick. They were literally 5 minutes away from being pulled out of the water, and they dug deep to get that boat in, took their first win for the season, and they've just turned it around. So good on them.
I think they've been a real different team here. They have a new coach, Ben Durham, America's Cup veteran. And he's steadied it all down. The boat seems, I don't know, it seems lighter. And whenever we go to the onboards, they're laughing and joking. And there's a real kind of team spirit, a camaraderie that we haven't necessarily seen before. And we're seeing that now on the racetrack.
You can see here the British have definitely caught up from going to that right-hand gate at the bottom. They've just taken the stern of Rome Kirby in the USA, who are still struggling to get up on the foils. So have a look at how light it is over where China and France are. So the British, if they can come over here and link into a bit of pressure, they could just steal the lead from nothing.
Just trying to look for which ones are windward. There's so many marks around over there, mate. Those ones, copy. Little press here.
This could be interesting if conditions are like this for the grand final match, Shirley. We could have snakes and ladders everywhere.
The British are doing really well of linking that pressure together. I mean, they look like they've got an engine compared to everybody else. They're doing really well. Great boat speed.
The French now and the Chinese just getting a little bit of a left-hander at the top of the course, which has taken them up to the gate. So that may hurt the British coming in from the right. Looks like the breeze, they might have just fallen out of that. They're slowly, as you can see, they can't foil. So it's only literally one hull up.
Well, out on the water, we have Lisa Darmanin, silver medalist from Rio. Lisa, what can you see?
He's a little...
It seems pretty hard to link that pressure together. Oh, thanks, Lisa.
And the big news, what we're at Lisa then, is the French team are leading this race. So they're coming around, they've gone to the left-hand gate and they are going back in towards the city, which is quite interesting because that's where the big left-hander was with this team coming in. China went over to the out to the sea, and you can see there they've stopped. So can the French, which are just popping into the screen now, stay into this wind and take themselves down? Remember, they're the only team, Shirley, that haven't won a race at all this season. So to win this in your hometown, imagine the celebrations. It would be absolutely amazing for them.
Look.
I'm not sure what the Chinese can do in this situation, Jody. All three boats flying round the outside.
Looks pretty relaxed there. He's up and going now is the Chinese, so that time would have stood still for Phil Robertson and his crew to just to wait for that wind to come. And now he comes to cross. Looks like France are doing quite well. They're doing a big angle across the course, which means it's very light. As Lisa said, they've got to bleed some miles to keep up on the foils. But they're still in front, only just is the French. Looks like both boats still have to do multiple jibes at this stage to get down to the bottom. They're doing big angles. Normally you see them heading straight down towards the gate.
It's like a pinball machine down here. They're bouncing off those boundaries.
I love it.
Okay, Max Babili.
He looks pretty cool there, Billy. He's eyeing it off. You see here Billy Besson just looking down there to see how the gate is to try and get his angle right and to know when he's going to jibe. Have a go at his heart rate, Shirley.
Well, we've just heard from race management. They will finish this race at the leeward gate. Can Billy Besson keep it together and claim his first victory?
He has just fallen into a hole right at the most inappropriate time. Billy Besson, blow in your wings, do whatever you can, get that boat up and going. We want to see the French get a bit of breeze. I'm not sure what French is, but I reckon that is saying, where's the wind, where's the wind, where's the wind? So here we are, the French. They're not that far away now. They've literally, can they drift over the line here, Shirley? They've got 20 metres to go. China is coming back in a hurry. He's doing 5 times his boat speed. Shirley, can they do it?
Keep it down.
I can't watch, Jody.
We have to watch. We have to watch. Here they go, the French. Have they got it? Yes, they have. They've finally won a race on home quarters. Well done, Billy. That's amazing.
And that's a great cheer from the crowd. They were wishing him over that line.
I think everybody was wishing him over the line. We're all pushing towards him to say, get over the line. And look at the ecstatic. That's great. That is unbelievable on your home waters. He might owe the race control a little bit of a nice red wine after that one for finishing it down there, but good on them. Well done. That's amazing.
Second for Phil Robertson in China, putting them in that 3rd spot.
You hear all the pre-race chatter going on as we are now 45 seconds away from race 4, which will be followed by race 5. After that, only the top 3 point getters will be in the final race of the day.
Everyone really, really close to the start with just 30 seconds to go, and they're all close to the bottom of the screen, what we'd call the top of the start line here. The Kiwis are very early. I think they're too early, but now who can find space? I like where Goodison has got the British boat. Outrage on Japan, though. Good control, opportunity to shut the French out at the top of the line here, and now can Slingsby get through? The Spanish, Spithill, they're out the back. They're behind off this start line, but it looks to me like Besson, he's trickling in. Has he timed it right at this top end of the line? Will there be a gap? Could be disaster for the French. No room. Green there. Clear start. And New Zealand, Sarafagis. Wow, he was so aggressive. Here go the New Zealand crew.
Wow, what a lockout job there by the Kiwis. Shut the door on the French. We thought they were early. They were perfectly on time. Everyone else was late. What are you looking at now, Stevie, for the Kiwis going into Mark 1?
It's really, really dropped off this wind, Fred. We're hearing now, that's Maloney. He's talking about lifting the boat out of the water. They're trying to build speed here, Fred. It's really hard to
This is the
build free.
umpires. Penalty.
The umpire's trying to figure out.
Penalty Japan, relative Australia. Ooh. 2 penalties.
Nathan clearly didn't have room on the start line either there. He's going to have to drop back behind the Australian crew. This might not be too costly for Japan.
And amazingly there, the Kiwis are the only boats foiling on the whole fleet. The rich are getting richer into Mark 1 as everyone else is just on one hull.
Freddie, when you're out in front, you have clear wind, and you need that clear wind to get you up and foiling. Huge lead for the Kiwis. Which boats are next on the foils? Spithill somehow found his way through below the fleet, but it's Slingsby on the foils, and Japan. Outrage pops the boat onto the foils. These boats can now start charging. It's the French and the Spanish, 3rd and 4th before today in the overall standings. They're at the back of the pack. What a start to the race.
What a start indeed as New Zealand gets offensive and defensive, protecting that line, guys, as we get a chance to go back and see New Zealand's play again. That was amazing, the way they blocked the French out, left them nowhere to go, and Billy Besson having to pull off to the right-hand side and basically do a U-turn.
Here we are, back on the replay. We're on board the front here of the Kiwi boat. The boats to the left of the screen, the Japanese, they can't squeeze in. There's no room. The mark is just off to the left of the screen. There it is. He forced Besson out. Besson had to bail at the last minute. He's not entitled to room. Aggressive, but brilliant. Back on board the French now. He's trying to thread the needle between that red mark and the black Kiwi boat there. Here isn't entitled to room. There isn't room, and he's out the way there. And a little bit of French excitement early in the roof. Disaster.
So back to live racing action here in race number 4. It is New Zealand out in front. What a great job by Arno Sarafagis filling in for Pete Burling, and New Zealand has the lead, 174 meters ahead of Australia. USA sitting in third. For Australia, guys, they are still not out of it, but they're going to need to win both races 4 and 5 and hope for a little help to get into that final race of the day.
And they're jibing here for a right turn. We've seen better pressure on the right-hand side, but I think there was a huge shift on that downwind.
Oh, they get a bit high in the jibe there. They've flown the boat too high. They're off the foils. This is going to cost them a lot of distance. 2 hulls in the water. Bad manoeuvre for this inexperienced crew. That's going to be costly. And Slingsby, that's more where we're used to seeing him. But the battle in the back of the pack, this is going to be closing up with the Kiwi crew as they approach gate number 2.
That looked like a rudder lift problem for me there. Not only do we fly off the main foils, but you fly off the T-foils on the back, the rudders that steer the boat, and they just weren't getting the lift of the boat, the back of the boat, to keep the boat in the air.
So here comes Australia sitting in second place, the USA sitting in third. Remember, the USA and Japan are leading right now with 21 points each. So, guys, if the USA has a top 3 finish, they've all but secured a spot in that final.
He's done a great job, Jimmy Spitzel, of getting back in second place for Tom Slingsby. Well, he really needs to win this race and see France and Spain at the back of the fleet to give himself a chance of making the final. It's very, very unlikely Australia can make it, but at the moment, this is perhaps his best chance with Besson and Robertson at the back of the pack.
There's nice pressure on the left corner, huh?
So the Kiwis right now flying the hole after splashing down with both into the water, coming off the foils. Their lead is dropping quickly.
Here we go, on board the Kiwi boat. Let's see what happens here. They set up for the jibe. Jason Saunders crossing the boat there. Foil goes in, and here we go. They turn, and then look in that back right-hand corner. Look at that rudder pop out, Fred. He spotted it really well. The rudder pops out. There's air around the rudder. These things don't work in the air. They're designed to fly in the water, and the foil just lets go. The boat crashes down. 2 hulls in the water, really, really slow. But look, this wind has dropped, and Freddie, I think what's really interesting, they've spent 40 minutes warming up in a lot more wind than this. Looks like a lot of the teams are struggling to adapt to the change.
Yeah, and they've got 5 crew on board today, so they've got that extra 100, 200 kilos, should I say, on board. So it's really hard, and that's why we're seeing crew on the Australians down on the leeward side of the boat. It's not about foiling right now, it's about lifting the windward hull.
Look at that, 8.5 kilometers an hour right now of wind, where they were practicing, to your point, Stevie, they were closer to 15 to 18.
Right, look at the guys that head out the boat, and they're looking for wind there. That's Carl Langford on the wing. He's going to really need to have a bit of feel today. He needs to look at that wind, see how it's working. Let's find out with Ali on the water. Has this wind dropped as much as we think?
Yeah, absolutely. It's much lower than forecast. And as you mentioned, it dropped just as we started the race, really 30 seconds before that start. We saw then it falling off those foils, absolutely crucifying for the teams. And it becomes all the more important that the crew on board can spot any extra bits of breeze across the racetrack. They'll be looking at the water and really trying to find as much wind out there as possible.
Well, Australia doing exactly what they have to do. Remember, they were sitting at the bottom of the standings after day 1 with just 5 points. And the only path for them to get into that final race is to win both of these races and get a little help. Right now, they lead here on leg 3.
And they're up and foiling there. Crucial moment for Slingsby. The magic number to get on the foils is 30 kilometers an hour. If you can get to 30 kilometers an hour, you can hope to fly. And we can see here, look at that wind. The wind's very, very similar on the boats, and the speeds are very, very similar. This is tight. Sarafagis doing a good job. There you go, easy on the press. Carl Langford talking to Tom Slingsby there. Look, 2 different modes of sailing here. Sailing a faster, longer distance for Slingsby, and the boats above there, Jimmy Spittle holds in the water, Fred.
So I'm already looking at what this, as it stands right now, what this would do to the overall leaderboard for this event. As it stands, the USA and Japan would book their place in the final race, the final 3 shootout. Spanish would still be in 3rd, but if it finishes like it is now, New Zealand would only be 2 points behind the Spanish going into race 5. So as I said, the USA and Japan would qualify, and that 3rd spot would still be wide open.
Tight cross coming up here. The Kiwis going to surely really look to take the wind of the Australians. There you go, tack from Sarafagis. He's new to the SailGP circuit, but great move from Switzerland, GC32, world champion. But what I think most important here, Todd, he's a real light wind specialist. This is old school cat sailing here. Hulls in the water, you've got to adapt to the situation. The wind wash he put onto Australia there, slow him down, and it's Jimmy Spithill charging in. We saw that a lot yesterday. Has he made the right call here?
So Spithill drops in, currently sitting in third place, but he is ahead of the Australians as Australia and New Zealand battle for that rare win that we're finding out here as to Ali's report. Breeze dropping off just before the start of race number 4. Remember, race 5 still to come, but they've got to negotiate this right now. It is a 3-boat shootout with New Zealand, the USA, and Australia.
Nice move there by Sarafagis. He stayed clear, kept it clean, and he's got himself back up on the foil there. Bit of wing wash going onto Spithill. He'll hate that. And Slingsby, well, he's decided to try and find wind on the other side of the course. Great opportunity at these gates for the teams to be tactical. They've got a chance to spot more wind, and here we go, Sarafagis flying.
It's not lost on me that Sarafagis, the Swiss helmsman on board the Kiwi boat, grew up sailing on the Swiss lakes where it's shifty and patchy and you really have to dial into the mode changes for what breeze you have at that moment. Maybe that's why he's showing the fleet a clean set of heels.
They set up, just got to watch them. Coming down.
Great comms, that's Tom Slingsby talking there. Here we go, we're going to come back here on board with Jimmy Spithill as the Kiwi crew sail over the top. The wind is coming from the right-hand screen, the top of the screen there. As soon as we see the Kiwis get in front of them, they're disturbing the wind. They're giving them dirty wind, we call it in sailing. Basically, it's like choking the fuel pipe on that American boat, slowing them down as we head downwind. And we see the French and the Spanish at the back of the fleet. They're nearly a leg behind, Fred. These light winds, you can just lose so much so quickly.
Well, the French lost off the start, didn't they? They got shut out at the start, and that is race over if you're going to start like that. A big pressure start for the French, and they got it so wrong.
And they were sitting 4th overall with 13 points coming into this, so an 8th is an absolute disaster for them. But that's how it stands. Spain not much better, currently sitting in 7th place. They were in 3rd in a podium position for the time being, but now Australia doing exactly what they need to do. They were in last. They need to win 2 races to have any shot of getting to the final. It is still New Zealand, USA, and Japan right now, your top 3.
And that's the head-to-head, New Zealand versus USA, 1 versus 2. The key difference is there, the race fly time at the bottom. The Kiwis have flown 50% of this race. The Americans have only flown 40%, and that's the difference we're seeing on the water.
Look at that in the background, Nathan Outridge in Japan. He's sniffing back into this race, renowned in the light winds for finding the wind, and he's not going away anywhere. Looks like all the boats will take a right turn at the bottom here, trying to set up JK we heard there. Get ready for a quick manoeuvre around the mark here. Sarafagis, there's so much communication required on these boats because everyone's having to work really hard together. Spithill follows him around, and it's Australia. He didn't quite make the mark. An extra manoeuvre for Slingsby, sorry there. That's going to be costly. Could give Outridge a chance to move past him in the race. You see the Australian boat trying to get back on the foils. It's so costly when you fall off the foils in this wind.
So everyone heading to the top of the course, that left side, trying to forward more breeze. Tom Slingsby rolls the dice. We'll see if it comes up. And there's the JK coming from Nathan Outridge in Japan SailGP. So now you've got 4 races battling for that top position here in race number 4, with race 5 still to come.
And going into race 5, I'm looking at the overall leaderboard and what this means. As it stands in this race, if they finish as they are, the USA and the Japanese would qualify for the final 3 shootout. As it stands going into the final race, New Zealand and Spain would be tied on 19 points, with the Brits just 5 points behind on 14.
What do you want to do with this duck?
Sarafagis talking to his tactician there. He's using Andrew Maloney and Josh Jr., Finn world champions, as tacticians. Okay, so Sarafagis, he's really only focused in on America here, and Jimmy Spithill, and he's in a textbook position to cover him.
And this is a key position for the Australians. If they do not take one more place up the leaderboard, it will rule out their chances of getting into the final 3.
Look at that, he's just not found any wind there, Todd. You can see Tom Slingsby looks tense to me.
We're gonna have to go early here. We've got no choice. Okay, stand by it.
Slingsby's frustration there as the defending series champions. And Italy has not been good to them. They had troubles all day yesterday. Remember, they finished in last with a did not finish, and then a 6th and then another 8th.
Well, we're within the last 2 or 3 minutes here. There's one tack left for all the crews except the Kiwis. The Kiwis have got 2 more to do, but now they set up, they head to gate 5, we see at the top of the screen, and it's the short reach to the finish. Slingsby, he's running out of time here in Taranto. This is getting hard for him, but Sarafagis, wow, the New Zealand team have yet to win a race in SailGP. Could Arno Sarafagis, Jason Saunders, Andy Maloney be the guys to make that happen on board? Great work for this crew. They're happy, 1 and in, just 1 more tack for the Kiwis.
Can you imagine Blair Tuke and Pete Burling sitting at home watching this, shouting at their tellies and cheering their boys home?
And they are preparing for the Olympic Games in Tokyo coming up, so Arno Sarafagis gets the call. GC32 world champion, foiling boat expert, doing a great job here, the first race on Sunday.
I've got to reiterate here for the Australians, they need to leapfrog the Japanese to keep their hopes alive of getting into the final 3 as they just drop behind the Danish and the British.
So truly an elimination race here in race number 4 with 5 still to come, and then the 3-boat shootout to cap off the Italian Sail Grand Prix.
That yellow line we saw on the screens, the ley line, we're back on board the USA here. Look at that tack. Are they going to stay on the foil? Look at that, they're skimming. No, they're up, they're up, they're up. They're stayed up. Beautiful foiling tack in such light winds. There's definitely more wind on this left-hand side, the top of the screen as we see it. There seems to be more wind on that side of the course. Slingsby lost out a lot. Spittle, perfect foiling tack from his crew. And at gate 5, with just the high-speed blast to the finish, well, let's hand it over to Arno Sarafagis to bring home New Zealand's first race win in SailGP.
And we talked about it from the get-go. The start's so key, not having a penalty to get things going, and Sarafagis put himself in a great spot, and he stuffed the French off the corner. They were unable to get into that small gap, and now they sit in 8th, and the Kiwis are sailing to their first win of the season here in SailGP. Congratulations to Arno Sarafagis and the crew of New Zealand SailGP as they will take the win in race number 4 and picking up all 8 points. So now we're going to put Freddie Carr to work with his abacus to start doing the math, because as New Zealand comes in and claims that 8 points, it looks like the USA will probably grab 2nd. Japan looks to be holding on for 3rd. And where is Australia?
It's a great performance for Jimmy Spittle looking ahead in the day. I always think these days, when you come into the day in a good position, you're sort of looking good for the final. It's easy to just try and coast to the final, but I think a really key word in sport is momentum, and I think momentum is key looking ahead to this final for Spittle.
For sure, the Americans have booked their spot in the final, and I also think if Nathan Outridge comes in 3rd as he is here, he's going to book his place in the final as well. As it stands, I believe that the Spanish and the Kiwis will be tied on 19, and then 5 points behind those, we have a 3-way tie, Denmark, GBR and France, but we've got to get the overall results across the line here to confirm that.
So Japan holds on for 3rd. Nathan Outridge and Japan SailGP, the runners-up in last year's series, look to be on their way to the podium race today. And the Danes with a great performance here, maybe their best showing thus far, finishing just off the podium in 4th. Just over 30 seconds to go to the start of race number 1.
27 seconds, a bold move by Ainsley, drops the boat off the foils as he needs to kill speed. Slingsby at the bottom of the line, will he be able to squeeze in? For me at the moment, it's Ben Ainsley there we're on board with. He's got control as they come in, killing 3 seconds. They're nearly accelerating to full speed. It's Ben Ainsley at the pin end of the line. Looks like he's timed this well. Already on the foils, it's the Kiwis and Burling in the middle of the line. Clear start there, it's Burling already on the foils. Can Ainsley pop the boat up? Burling and Spittle break the line fast, and Sehested comes diving through the middle. The Danish crew blast towards mark number 1.
So a drag race with the 4 boats out in front here on race number 1, off to mark number 1. And how about Denmark? What a start. But it's the Kiwis topping up at over 72 kilometers an hour.
Faster angle into mark that 1 there for Burling, and Tuke on board the Kiwi boat. This could be them first at mark 1 here, and Ahu's bearing away downwind. Great from Burling. That's the voice of Blair Tuke there, talking about the wind ahead. Little lighter inside, stand by. They don't want to sail into lighter wind. They're looking for more wind as they set up to jibe.
Early jibes coming from Denmark and Great Britain, the USA also, but they've got Japan on their heel, so they have to take an action there. But it is New Zealand getting the whole shot, looking so fast, and Pete Burling doing a great job off the line.
Burling doing a good job, but a slight mistake. The hull touches down, and Sehersted's ready to grab the opportunity. Good job down.
Fast mode as we can, Raz. Yep, fast mode all the way. Down, Nico, down.
Fast mode, that's Tom Johnson talking to Nikolai Sehersted there. Fast mode suggests they feel they're making the mark comfortably. They're going to try and keep it simple. Straight in, left turn, try and minimise manoeuvres. Sehersted looks in good shape for gate 2.
So as they approach gate number 2, it is the home team that has the lead.
3, 2, 1, turning up.
Denmark SailGP, presented by Rockwell, has the lead at gate 2. Guys, this is something we haven't seen so far during season 2.
How about using the hometown advantage for a bit of inspiration there? That's a brilliant start by Sehersted. Nailed the first jibe, seemed to make a big gain.
This is going to be a very tricky first upwind for all the crews. The wind is shifting through 40 degrees, and we've also got about 10 to 15 kilometers an hour less wind up underneath the city than we do at the bottom. It's going to make the top half of this race course really hard to negotiate.
Tap on board Denmark there. Lovely turn here. Keep the boat dry, keep it flying. What attack from Sehersted in these gusty conditions. Really good job there from the Danish crew on the foils. First thing out that I've noticed, though, back in 6th place is Tom Slingsby, moving through the fleet already. Let's see what he can do. The camera shows here the fleet sailing back towards that Aarhus shoreline. We've seen a little bit more wind on that side of the course on average, and Burling and Tuke in 2nd place at the moment seem to be making a move.
Jumping into the 50s, Nico. Yep. Good pressure.
Ben Ainsley, Great Britain, making a nice maneuver as well. The center of your screen, there you see the speeds popping up as we take you on board.
I like to all the way. Turning up, boys.
That's Sehersted talking to Tommy Johnson again, talking about tactics, wants a bit of reassurance from his teammate. They're doing a good job.
We're good, I think we want to push right.
This is an unusual place for Rockwell, the Danish team, to be in. They haven't actually led many races at all throughout season 2. Will they be reading the race course looking forwards or looking over their shoulders to see what's coming at them?
Daylight today, you can't control the boats behind you. You've got to see the wind coming ahead of you. Proactive, not reactive. Look at what's coming down the course and make a decision based on that. Interesting, again for Burling and Tuke in the background, and Outridge. This left-hand side of the course seems good.
I can tell you what's coming down from the top of the course, Stevie, is less wind. It is dropped below 15 kilometers an hour of wind at the top gate marks. That in old money is under 7 knots, so it is going to get a bit race restarty at the top.
It's all going to be about nailing these next few maneuvers.
On board with the Kiwis, who have now taken the lead and just swapping back with Denmark, so they are at the front of the course. Japan in 3rd, Great Britain 4th. The Americans have dropped way off back into 6th.
Have a look at Outridge, though, the Wind Whisperer. He's there on that ley line. Good tack, up at 40 kilometers an hour straight after the tack. 45 kilometers an hour is the magic number to pop on the foil, so he's instantly up on the foil. Looks well set up for gate 3.
That was a lovely tack by the Japanese. The reason they had such a nice tack is their entry speed into that maneuver was 55 kilometers an hour. Really built speed into the tack to stay foiling.
At gate 3, what is Outridge going to do? Neck and neck with the Kiwis.
Great ley line from Burling. And it's the gold medalist from Rio in the 49er class and the gold medalist from London 2012 in the 49er class. They're used to racing each other. Here we go. It's a bit of a clash of the titans. Early jibe. Both of them trying to find wind. It's close with Australia and Japan there, but I think they've just avoided it. Third place. Ben Ainsley and the British crew moving back in, and look how quickly things can change. No real mistake from Sehested, but ran out of wind, and he's dropped from first to fourth.
2, 1, and forward. Big trim, big trim, big trim.
So Denmark having some issues there in the rounding. New Zealand in front, Japan, Great Britain, Denmark in fourth. The Americans dropping back to seventh. Remember, Spain is out today because of damage during practice. And the Kiwis looking very good. Welcome back to SailGP, Pete Burley.
Great point you make there, Todd. These guys, really the restart of their SailGP career after taking time out for the Tokyo Olympics, where they took a silver medal.
So we can see here the head-to-head Denmark-New Zealand. The reason that New Zealand are leading this race, 98% fly time. The Danes have fallen off the foils a little bit.
It's tight down here. I'm surprised how close this race is staying in this light, shifty breeze. Both boats now, outerage, up at 53 kilometers an hour. It's all about who's lined up for this gate at the bottom best. If you can get in and out here quickly, they'll have control for the final leg.
Nathan Outridge, the helmsman for Japan SailGP.
Looks like they've all got one more manoeuvre to do between the Japanese and the Kiwis here, Todd. It's going to come down to this last jibe in. Outridge has jibed early. Has he got it right? Chance to squeeze inside the Kiwis. Let's see who's going to get there first. It's going to be tight. Nathan Outridge on the inside. Is he overlap? Does he have right of way? Yes, he does. Burling must stay clear as they round up round here. It's tight. Great work by Outridge. The perfect lay line. It's these minute decisions that are making the difference here. And this upwind leg now is going to be a real match race between these two titans.
So Japan and New Zealand around gate number 4 going 1 and 2. Great Britain still in the mix, sitting in third. Denmark has dropped back to 4th place. Australia 5th, France 6th, and the Americans in 7th.
Todd, this is the final upwind leg now. This is the last chance to really make a good move here. Good tack by Outridge, and he heads across to cover off Great Britain.
We've seen this before, haven't we? The Japanese in lighter airs, not getting great starts, but they are the boat that has the ability to sail up through the fleet. Mark 1, 6th, now 2nd.
And board. I don't know, looking at the seppos, it looks right. We're going to get lifting pressure.
Here we go. That's Nathan Outridge. He's talking ahead. If you're having your conversation in the future, that's a really good sign. You've got to try and predict what's coming. And look, we can see there Jimmy Spittle, 7th place. Crew change on board. He's really struggling in these shifty conditions. But Nathan Outridge, look at the different angles they're sailing. That's purely because the wind is a slightly different direction on Nathan Outridge, and he's nearly heading straight up the course. It's all about how fast you progress up the course. And Outridge, great wind shift there. And looks like he's going fast at the moment.
So what was a 4-boat race now is down to a head-to-head matchup between the Japanese and the Kiwis here in race number 1. Remember, 2 more races still to come, but guys, as we've seen in the past events, if you don't get a good start on day number 1 in the first 3 races, it's almost impossible to make that final on day 2.
So hard. We see here now, this is a crucial moment in the race. When Outridge tacks, he's tacking onto port. That means that the Kiwi team of Burling has the right of way. He has to be sure he's ahead here. Draper, that was Chris Draper. No issue with the Kiwis. Looks like he's across.
Really, really light at the top of the course, Stevie. It's just dropped below 12 kilometers an hour. That's under 6 knots in old money. This could shut down and have a real concertina on the fleet. Stand by for anything.
Standing by. Well, this is what they've got to have their head out of the boat. Be pretty happy to back Nathan Outridge and Chris Draper in this kind of situation, but they are off the foils. That was Outridge. Huge gain for GBR here, so Ben Ainsley may have found some more wind, but as we say that, popping up onto the foils is Burling and the New Zealand boat, and I think they could be lined up well for this gate one. Wow, look at the differences in angles here. Outridge having to dip behind Sehested. He's got himself back in the race. Has Sehested got across on New Zealand? He has the right of way. This is going to come down. Last 200 metres up to this final gate. Any more manoeuvres is going to be crucial.
So it's one more gate and then the blast into the finish line for race number 1, and it is all back together again. Japan, Denmark, New Zealand and Australia 1 through 4.
Look at the acceleration there as they dip behind on the Kiwi boat. Sehested not going to lay back of screen there. Australia, they're up on the foils charging in. This is going to be tight. It's going to come down to this last tack. Australia coming through underneath Japan. Japan will have to keep clear. Can he keep clear of Slingsby? Where has Slingsby come from? He's found some breeze and it's Ainsley in a big gust of wind at the top. One more tack to do for Ainsley. These boats have completed the tack. It's going to come down to this final tack in here. Can Ainsley stick it? Here he goes. Needs to stay on the foil. Whoa! He's fought the wing too late. Oh, Parkinson. No, they fluff the tack. It's all about the re-acceleration here, the tack under pressure.
And how about this? The Danes are going to come back from behind. They were in 4th place and falling back. And as they come to the line in light breeze, it will be Denmark claiming the win in front of the home crowd.
Slingsby through at the finish to 2nd and on the line. Oh, I can't call it. I think it's Burling in 3rd. Oh, it came down to one tack, the money tack, and they missed it.
Oh, man. Wowee.
What a finish by Nicolai Sehested as the Danes get their first win of season 2, and it couldn't have come at a better time.
Let's watch the fight near the pole position spot, and can Outridge and his Japanese crew and Slingsby on the Australian find a way through? It's tight in there. There's no room for Tom Slingsby. He tries to dive in. Outridge shuts the door. Who's got the timing right here? Outridge squeezes again at the top of the line. 3 seconds to go. Watch for the line to turn right. There we go. Oh, Great Britain over the line early. New Zealand over the line early. They must drop back, and boat-on-boat penalties for Denmark and France are cleared instantly. It's going to be Outridge and Spithill with pole position at Mark 1.
That's 2 over earlies for the Kiwis in 2 races.
You are over the line early. Behind all boats apart from Australia, France. All boats apart from Australia and France.
I think that's the sign of pressure though, Freddie. We need good results if we're on board New Zealand, and perhaps Burling showing signs of the pressure, trying too hard at the start. Spain, all the boat speed in the world. New Zealand must get behind this red line, as must Ben Ainsley on the British boat. That's to clear their start line penalty, and it's Spain in front of the home crowds, leading at Mark 1. They turn away from the fleet. Great job by Phil Robertson, and they need it. It was a poor race 1. The pressure's on the Spanish here, and they're delivering. Nathan Outridge, great job as well, rounding on the inside of the Danes in 2nd, and we know it's about a good jibe on this boundary and this light winds that can be crucial.
Well, with all the penalties dished out, mark number 1 becomes a bit of a mess. The USA look to be in great position, but because of the penalties and those who penalized on them, they have to slide all the way back. And look at this, now it's time to make up. Remember, guys, this is a 15-minute race. The breeze is down.
Penalty, GBR, relative to France, above a proper course with the penalty.
Oh, Ben Ainsley trying to clear his penalty has infringed the French. He was trying to keep clear of the line, but he sailed in a direction he wasn't supposed to sail, above his proper course, and that's put another penalty on him relative to the French. That one should clear quite quickly, but as we see now, it's Nathan Outridge first to jibe away, finding space. Finding space means he'll find some speed, and he's chasing down the Spanish. As we drive towards gate number 2, it's going to be Outridge and Robertson in a good position in free air.
This is interesting, looking at the wind coming off the leeward gate, gate number 2, where they're going now. The breezes drop below 12 kilometres an hour. Be interesting to see what mode they choose to come out of the leeward gate, whether they go full foiling or they go H1.
The key speed to look for is 30 kilometres an hour. Now, downwind, that's no problem. They'll be jibing and staying on the foils. It's once they round gate 2 that's crucial. Here we go. Good jibe by the Spanish crew there. That's Diego Botan, you can see, sat down, flying the boat in the flight controller role. And we heard Phil Robertson, he said we may have to JK. That means expect a right turn, an early manoeuvre for the Spanish. It's a lot of manoeuvres to do very quickly though, a lot of pressure here.
Early tack, 3, 2, 1, rounding up now. Okay, stand by tack.
Big pressure manoeuvre here for the Spanish.
3, 2, 1. H1 out of this? Yep.
Oh, look at the speed, he's under 30 kilometres an hour, no chance to foil. He tacks in the background, Outridge chooses to jibe away at 26 kilometres an hour. He won't be foiling either. The question now, who foils first? Can anyone foil, Freddie?
Doesn't look like it with the breeze stepping below 10 kilometres an hour. You're looking for that magic number of 29 kilometres an hour of boat speed to even start the conversation. What I would say is the Spanish are on the same tack as the Japanese, heading to the same bit of water. So you are slightly more comfortable if you're on board the Spanish boat, but we all know on board the Japanese, they're pretty good in the light airs of snigging it onto the foil.
Here we go, we're on board with Spain. Phil Robertson in the left-hand side there, Nathan Outridge and Chris Draper, you can see in the right picture there. Senna Takana in the background there, she's helping with the tactic, looking for breeze, our female athlete at the back there. It's all about finding wind. Spanish, they think they've got enough wind, they're going to try and pop the boat on the foils. Watch for the Spanish boat, can they accelerate it enough? If they don't do it quickly, they're going to be losing distance.
No, not popping. 28.
Well, that's Florian Trittle there, no popping. 28, 29 was Freddie Carr's magic number. Florian knows that as well as Freddie, and they decided to change mode again. That was distance thrown away for me there.
We're just pushing to the right here, eh? Yep. Japan is tagged there.
It's the voice of Phil Robertson you're hearing there. Phil Robertson keeping the boat on one hull. That yellow line is the ley line. If they can get to that and tack, it should suggest they make it to the gate with no more manoeuvres after that.
I remind you, this is a shortened race course down to 5 legs. It is Spain out in front as we take you on board with Japan, and Nathan Outridge, Chris Draper.
Well here, boys.
Constant chat. Certainly Chris Draper, we call him Moley, not got the best eyesight. That big wing's going to be hard to see the top of for Chris out there today, but he always seems to spot the wind somehow, Freddie.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. He definitely won't be seeing the Japanese flag on the top of the wind, but what he will be seeing is through his wing is Denmark doing a nice job on port tack, staying in touch with the lead 2 boats.
Spain, Japan, Denmark, 1, 2, and 3. Australia's moved up to 4. The USA's mired back in 6th.
We stay H1. In front there is quite good breeze.
It's the voice of Phil Robertson for a little bit there, saying maybe we can make the gate, but no, changing his mind. You can see in these light winds, the decision-making process is changing all the time.
Still H1 here, boys. Let me just check the jib mode.
It's like a game of chicken. Who's going to try and pop it onto the foil first? Because if you get it right, you're going to put another 10 kilometres an hour on your boat speed. If you get it wrong, you're just stepping down the ladder away from the next gate.
That's right. We're trying to spot the breeze here all the time. I think it's probably one more manoeuvre for Japan, and I imagine one more manoeuvre for Spain. But at the moment, Nathan Outridge, look, he's looking around for breeze. We know he's a light wind specialist. They've been fortunate the last few events have been light winds, and they are the overall leaders. Look at New Zealand in 6th, Great Britain in 7th. Well, they need to make a move, and it's in fact good picture for Japan at the moment. His big rival Spithill, his big rival Slingsby, they're all behind him at this point in the race.
Right now, Australia may be the biggest winners if they can hold on to that 4th place to go with their 2nd. It's all about that consistency and getting into the final race tomorrow. Remember, 2 more fleet races coming tomorrow, and then the top 3 boats going to the finale.
On board with Tom Slingsby. Tom Slingsby's talking about where Denmark are on the race course. Can we tack inside or can we not? In these light winds, you don't want to make a mistake and tack too early, because the speed you lose in the tack. Look at Japan's speed. Only 13 kilometres an hour for a moment there. Tacking is absolutely deadly in this breeze. The wind is really shutting out. We are powered by nature, and when nature turns off, you end up a little bit slower and trying to get the most out of it.
Look at the fly time there at the bottom, 40% fly time for our race leader, and we know the British, when they won the last race, we're up at 73%. So just that small drop in wind speed means these amazing F50s just struggle to get foiling, and it completely changes the sport and completely changes the skill set.
And it's worth reminding everyone, we've shortened the race to 5 legs, plus it's still 15 minutes. And when that 15-minute mark is reached, it's the last mark that you rounded where the final results will take place. So we'll keep an eye on that. It's Spain out in front, Japan in second, Denmark in third, then Australia, New Zealand, USA in sixth. Great Britain, winners of race number 1, finishing in 7th, and France in 8th.
Here we go. Look at the Spanish. 32 kilometers now. Speed building. They're foiling now. Great job by Robertson and his crew. But it's Denmark. They've done a fantastic job. They closed up on Nathan Outridge and his Japanese crew, but can the Japanese get up on the foil? Look at Tak Castani there on the front, working that grinding pedestal.
I don't think we want to go past the Spanish,
Spain and Japan heading downwind here. There's not a lot of this race left to go, but splitting the course, Sehested, can the Spanish stay on the foils through the downwind?
H1, yeah, H1. Dip off. Dip is neutral. How's angle?
It's really, really getting light here on the boats. Look, Phil Robertson's nearly heading back upwind at the moment. He's struggling to get the boat foiling. Outridge jibes as well. This is the final downwind leg. It's been confirmed that the course will be shortened. Who can get on the foils first here could define the race. Outridge turns the boat away, slowly building the speed. He's closed on the Spanish, but the Spanish are controlling the situation at the moment, and under 100 meters behind the leader now is the Danish, and that distance is coming down.
So it's a 3-boat race on the final leg, shortened to 4 legs now here on race number 2, with 1 race still to come, hoping the wind builds for that 3rd and final race today. But it's Spain out in front, Japan in second, Denmark closing in, all within 100 meters of each other.
Foiling. Dip is 3. Yeah. You happy? Happy. Taking on more. Coming up here. We've got a match to Japs.
And what has happened to the Kiwis, the Americans, and the Brits from race number 1?
When you get back in the fleet in this light wind, Todd, the wind speed is really affected by the wings of the other boats. So the wings, the boats ahead of you are blocking your wind, slowing you down. It's really hard. Look at the difference in speed here. The Spanish 4 kilometers an hour faster. Outridge is looking around, trying to find wind, but they're struggling to get on the foils again here. Look, the boat speed under 30 kilometers an hour. They won't get up on the foils. It's a real tactical battle. Spanish Olympian Florian Trittel there, we can see sat on the side, wing trimmer, talking with Phil Robertson. They're discussing, do we try and pop? Do we try and pop? There we go, they're going hard on the grinder. They're going to try and pop the boat up on the foil.
Yeah, going to stay fast for the jibe, okay? Yeah, 200 meters.
They should be foiling there, 34 kilometers an hour. Good work by this young Spanish crew. What job can they do in their final jibe? I think they look in good shape to take the victory here if they can execute a good jibe. Let's watch them through the jibe. Hear the crowd in the background there, Todd. The Spanish fans, oh, they fluffed the jibe though. It's going to take a big build from here.
I don't know. I think that's a nice roll jibe. I think they called H1 exit early, and I really like their timing of the speed build into the jibe. I think that's just fine.
Now you see Japan in second place, still hovering around 20 kilometers an hour, so they're not going to be able to fly the boat just yet, and Spain may just yet hold on to this one. Remember, the course has been short from 6 to 5, now down to 4 legs, so the finish line just dead ahead.
I think it does look a nice job for the Spanish, trying to foil again here. They are foiling. Great work by the Spanish. They're really good at getting this boat up onto the foils. There we can see them powering down, using every bit of wind there is. The wing sail working so hard. Those grinders seem to be working harder than ever today, Freddie.
Yeah, well, that's because the breeze on the Spanish is up at 13 kilometers an hour, and the boat is doing 43 kilometers an hour in old school 7 knots. I mean, my goodness, that's outrageous.
That's some efficiency there. That's powered by nature and giving us some seriously good benefit for that there.
So Spain looking good to win race number 2. Japan holding on to second. Denmark staying in third. And then it's Australia, the USA, New Zealand, and Great Britain, winners of race number 1 in 7th.
And Spain have done a really nice job stepping out on this downwind, and that's because their entry speed into their second to last jibe was 35 kilometers an hour versus the Japanese, which is at 25. They did a great job of building speed into the last maneuver.
As they come to the finish line, it will be Spain SailGP that wins race 2 here in Cadiz.
Rock solid.
Who's got the timing right? Slingsby's really early on the foils with Australia, but at the moment it's Canada controlling the pole position at the moment. The Australians with a dramatic move at 16 seconds. He finds a way in there. He's found a hole. Now he's putting the pressure on the Danish crew. They must keep clear. Oh, there we go. Big noise from the Australian crew. They're all a little bit early here. Coming through the middle, it's Great Britain towards the bottom of the line again. Watch for the line to go right. It's tight. Great Britain's timing was brilliant again. Spain at the top of the line. Can the Spanish get the speed from up at this end of the line and blast down towards Mark 1? It looks good for Great Britain once again.
9 boats up and sailing here in race number 2, season 3 underway in Bermuda, and Great Britain once again out in front, Canada close behind. Amazed that Tom Slingsby was able to get that boat and find a spot.
So we just heard the voice of Ben Ainsley there. Look for a jibe set at the mark. He's going to look to turn immediately here. We've seen the better wind is to the left-hand side of the screen as we look at it. Let's get ready. Okay, that's the voice of Phil Robertson saying the ley line's a little bit away. Great Britain set up to jibe. Early jibes, top of the screen. It's Australia and New Zealand, but look, New Zealand have fallen off the foils. Another mistake early in the race here. Barely foiling's Australia. They're going to need a bit of magic from here. They are in speed, still at 26 kilometres an hour is New Zealand, at 55 kilometres an hour Great Britain. They're bugging out on this first downwind leg.
Leg 2 of 7 here in race number 2 in Great Britain. Remember, won race number 1 with Canada in second. It is a repeat, and once again, New Zealand finds themselves in a hole.
Ben Ainsley talking about the wind he can see. If these crews can find more wind, you're going to be able to sail faster. And look at the lead. Just 3 minutes into this race, it already could be a race-defining lead. Phil Robertson, Canadian crew, looking great position here as the Spanish. They're looking to find space on the other side of the course. Risky manoeuvre for Jordi Zamar and his Spanish crew, though.
That's exactly what Australia did in the first race, and that dropped them back considerably, as Tom Slingsby having a close cross with the Americans right there as Jimmy Spittle has to dip behind. So past gate number 2, everyone through cleanly. Nathan, what are you seeing down there? Have things changed much on the course from what we saw in race number 1?
All right.
Yeah, what you saw there was obviously the guys had to sail a little bit further after Mark 1 before making the ley line. Australia and New Zealand jibed early on the mark and thought it was going to work out well for them, and actually got all the bad wind from the boats from the first reach and took a while for them to get going. But, you know, super impressive with GBR once again, great start, and Canada sailing very well today. So it'll be interesting for me watching on the water to see if Australia can make their way back up into the top 5 in this race.
Yeah, never want to be fast yet.
Okay, so we've got the British boat in the lead here. They have foiled 100% of the time. Their fly time when the boat is out of the water has been perfect in this race so far. That has given them a really nice average boat speed. In contrast, you can see New Zealand fell off the foil at that jibe and are 5 kilometres an hour slower on average than the British, and that is why they are last. You've got to keep the boat in the air and keep it ripping.
400 metres to go here. That's the voice of Ian Jensen. There's been a lot of chat about a left turn being the key move here. The advantage of being in front, of course, is you control your own destiny. If you're in the lead, you get to make all the decisions, and right now, Great Britain, they want 2 more tacks. They've got to be careful. 2 more tacks, and then they'll look to turn left.
See the heads on board, constantly looking around, looking for that puff of wind. Great Britain again with the lead. France in second now. Canada has dropped back to 3rd.
Perfect tack on the ley line there by the British crew. That yellow line suggests where they're going to make the ley line, but the wind is changing direction. See, they're nearly sailing across the ladder lines at the moment, not really progressing towards the gate at the moment. Suggests the wind's turned to the right. Get ready to see what the British do now. We're listening to Britain as they try and get round gate 3. I think there could be another manoeuvre coming. That was a big sigh from Ainsley. Look at the speed drop as he tries to squeeze.
Yeah, 2, 1, down.
30 kilometres an hour, fallen off the foils. Maybe a mistake by the British crew here.
So Great Britain out in front as they make their maneuver. Now they're heading into traffic as Switzerland has to give away, and Denmark. Now France has moved into a very strong second place position, and Canada sits in third.
Out this way now.
There we go, that's the voice of Ben Ainsley talking about the wind. I'm surprised they took that right-hand turn. It was slow, had been talking about wind, but look back in the pack here now. Australia, they're right in the fight here. It's tight in the pack at the moment. New Zealand, they're looking for space from last up to 7th place for New Zealand, and the Australians an unforced error penalty.
Penalty, this is the umpires, penalty Australia relative New Zealand, not giving room at the mark.
Chief umpire Craig Mitchell doling out the penalty to Australia.
Got to wait for the New Zealand crew to be ahead of the Australian boat before that penalty will fall off, and looking at the ladder lines at the moment, they can't get rid of the penalty quickly. They need to make it happen or it's only going to get worse.
And way out in front, Great Britain trying to grow that lead. Remember, winners already of race number 1 with another race still to come today. It's Great Britain, Canada, Spain now into 3rd. France has fallen back to 4th. Then Switzerland and Australia still with that penalty.
Big game from the Canadian crew. It was a bad choice by the British crew. Look, they're back in here, only 50 metres apart. Good jibe by the British. They're now back in control of things, but that was a mistake by the British, and Robertson's pounce tight as we come downwind.
It was very interesting that we had our tactical talk of Ainsley, and he said looks lighter this way, and he was right. It was lighter, and that's why the Canadians are back into them.
He's off the foils on the British boat. This is an opportunity for Canada. Can he go round the outside, stay on the foils? This could be a big moment for this fledgling Canadian crew.
Phil Robertson.
Ainsley's got to keep clear. He's got to keep clear, you hear? Got to keep clear.
Protest coming.
Okay, I am watching the penalty flags. Phil Robertson protested Ben Ainsley 3 times. Let's see what the umpires have got to say about that.
That's the voice of Chris Draper there, trying to calm Phil down. Phil, match race world champion, but he loves those aggressive situations.
Canada, Spain, Great Britain, France, and Switzerland. No penalty assessed on Great Britain, as Canada now takes the lead with Spain in 2nd. Great Britain, who had that sizable lead, moves back to 3rd. Remember, this is like 5 of 7.
Well, this is a tough moment for the British crew now. They're in the turbulent wind of the boats ahead. It's going to make them slower. Canada, the fastest boat on the race course at the moment, as Australia still try and lose the penalty versus New Zealand. Surely that penalty will be clear soon, but back with Canada. What a moment for this new crew. Georgia Lewin there, tactician on the back. Phil Robertson in training's been calling her Speedy G. 49er FX European bronze medalist, but she's a Canadian and she's really doing a good job tactically. That's the voices of Phil Robertson and Chris Draper talking to each other there, happy with how they're sailing.
And you could hear Phil Robertson saying, I'm super happy being fast. That's because he's in the lead and he is trying to use his boat speed, as we see the Canadians in shot there, and push over the top of the rest of the fleet and effectively shut down the racecourse options for everyone behind him.
Here we go, we've got the ride heights we can see on the screen here, and it's the French team really pushing that at the moment. Canada, though, sailing fast. Billy Gooderham, well, he's going to love being out in front.
So Canada has the lead, Spain in 2nd. Remember, Phil Robertson, who's now skippering Canada, was on Spain last year until he was shown the door. So this will be interesting if these two get together, with Jordi Chamar now skippering for Spain. The USA has made a huge gain, coming from 7th all the way up to 3rd. What are they talking about, Stevie, when they're saying pressing?
Yeah. Well, we are listening to Canada all the way up here, and we can hear Chris Draper absolutely screaming at Phil Robertson to press. He wants him to push the boat and accelerate to give more power to the boat.
3, 2, 1. Turning.
Having praised the Canadians after race 1 for how well they were gelling, it was very interesting to hear slightly Tony and fractious comms there between Phil Robertson and Draper. But hey, what does it matter? They're getting it done, and they've gone from second round the leeward gate and have now got a healthy lead at our last turning mark.
So you hear the conversations on board Canada, Spain moving to second, USA into third as they make their way around this gate, which is branded near in recognition of SailGP's new global partner.
It's a big moment here in New Zealand. Look to dive inside. Big losers on that upwind leg of Great Britain. They've gone from first and they're now back in 6th position. Disastrous upwind for the British. Falling off the foils, it's New Zealand. And wow, these are not some of the teams we expected at the back. Australia propping up the fleet at the moment.
Australia finishing 4th in race number 1, and right now they sit in 9th place behind Denmark and Switzerland.
Gonna take something pretty magic for the Australian crew from here.
Crazy how these things turn around, guys. I mean, you looked at Great Britain, Canada, the USA, dominant in race number 1, and now the Americans back to 4th, but it's Canada leading this race.
Have a look now, Todd. You see the speed of the Spanish. They fell off the foils. They lose speed. They're going to lose places. It's as simple as that. Look, the Spanish, this is a disaster. One mistake and it can all go wrong. And right now, so fast, it's the Great British crew. They look like they found more wind because they've got more speed. This could be the comeback moment for Ben Ainsley's British crew. He will be on starboard tack. You can see some 400 metres behind Canada, but Canada are gone. Jimmy Spittle in 4th. It's tight coming down to the finish.
That really is an example of how shifty this Bermuda race course was. That was the side of the first downwind where Ainsley lost his lead effectively. He's rolled the dice, gone back out there and gone from 7th, and he's climbing the leaderboard. Let's see where he gets to the last bottom gate.
Nathan, your thoughts as they finish up leg 6 of 7.
Yeah, that's all happening out on the racecourse right now. It's amazing when you get just a tiny bit in front how easy it is, but Ben Ainsley made a mistake at the bottom mark, and the fleet's, swallowed him up here. And, Lisa and I just keep watching the racing out here as they approach the top mark, and it's so different to last season. The fleet is so close and so compressed.
Our apologies for the delays in getting to and from Nathan Outteridge as we are bouncing this signal literally around the world. But right now, the only thing bouncing around Bermuda is Canada, as they have gone to a top speed of over 68 kilometers an hour. And Phil Robertson and the Canadians are on their way to picking up their very first win as we look at all the chaos behind them. France now in 2nd, Great Britain in 3rd, but here comes Jimmy Spithill in 4th.
It's a really slow manoeuvre by Great Britain. He's got to give room for Spithill here. There's going to be a protest. Wow, Spithill has to avoid a collision. Burling coming through. If he can stay on the foils, this could be a 3rd from nowhere. Big error.
Umpires, penalty GBR relative USA, taking room to which the 9 title.
I've got to say, on this occasion, I do agree with Chief Umpire Craig Mitchell there. He's going to have a huge penalty. He has to drop behind the US crew. This is a massive penalty.
But look at the loss for the Americans, though. As they come off the foils, they are dead in the water, and they're passed by not only New Zealand, but Spain and everyone else. They were in 3rd.
Yeah, and what a moment for New Zealand. They were at the back of the pack early in the race. That's a huge comeback for Burling. He needs it. He really does need it. But Contant de la Pierre's French crew, fantastic performance from them. And this is going to hurt Ainsley and his British crew from 1st, and he's going to end up somewhere near 8th in this race.
So Canada gets the victory in race number 2 while the get-together with Great Britain and the USA was happening. Phil Robertson brings it across the line. France bounces back from 9th to 2nd in race 2. We've seen the Kiwis pull this out before, Stevie, where they go to the very back and they hit the line at full speed.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to get it. It's the first look for a lot of the teams. They're just manoeuvring at the back now. Australia first to turn back. Tom Slingsby mentioned how hard this timing was here. It's going to be tricky finding the space, I think, on the start now. But for New Zealand, for the USA, well, they were fast when they were free yesterday, but they need to get a good one. What can Tom Slingsby do? We can hear Tom Slingsby on the Australian boat. They're nearly on time here. Look look at the start, right-hand side of screen, there's going to be a lot of space for Tom Slingsby up here potentially, but can New Zealand wiggle through at the bottom of the line? It's going to be USA and Australia very tight at the end of the line closest to us. Pole position, top end of our screen on the start line, and New Zealand are hunting that down right now. Will they get in time? It's going to be tight for Tom Slingsby's Australia at the top of the line here. Watch for the line to turn white. It's all about timing. Who's going to hit the line fastest? Sneaking in there. Wow, over early.
Umpires, OCS, penalty, Australia over the line early.
Wow, so tight. And out of the middle of the line, it's going to be France, who need a result. And at the bottom of the line, New Zealand. Once again, they had that 4-point penalty before racing began, put themselves back in the game. But De La Pierre, last overnight, needs a result. He's going to lead at Mark 1.
So Australia rolls the dice. It does not come up Yahtzee, and now the Aussies have to go to the back of the pack. But remember, they are leading on points coming into day number 2.
See now this downwind leg turning away from the wind now. The boats are going to accelerate a lot here, Todd, and for France and New Zealand, they should have control. First to set up, it's New Zealand. That yellow line suggests they should be able to make it to gate 2 from here. New Zealand turn on it. Who can stay on the foils? Tricky manoeuvres in this light wind. New Zealand stay on the foils. Brilliant turn by the French. Bottom speed 33 kilometres an hour. 50-metre gain in that one manoeuvre for Quentin de La Pierre's French team. And they're going to be set up for gate 2. It should be easy for them from here, but are they fast enough to hold off the fast-charging Kiwis?
Currently they are. 51 kilometres an hour of boat speed for the French. That's 28 knots. Really fighting with the Kiwis now.
Here we go, it's tight on the inside. It's New Zealand. The French must give the Kiwis room to round the mark. Can New Zealand sneak in time? The French are going to be faster, but New Zealand have the right of way at the mark.
So at gate number 2, it's New Zealand that takes the lead away from the French, and near contact right there as Quentin de La Pierre has to veer away, and a great maneuver by Peter Burling and the Kiwis. And here comes the rest of the fleet with Switzerland currently sitting in 3rd.
It's light winds here. The French, as soon as they rounded the mark, the French were allowed to force New Zealand into the wind. He did so, had to turn away on New Zealand. Should be a clear incident there, I believe, but they're down. One hull in the water. Let's listen in on board the French. It's all quiet on board there, but Switzerland in 3rd, 2nd at the moment. Good result for the Swiss, and Australia and the USA out the back. Jimmy Spithill needs to make something happen here to keep his season alive. He has to make the final 3 here, I believe, to have any real hope of being in the grand final in San Francisco.
And he's run into a roadblock in the form of Spain right in front of them. And there you see Australia, who was penalized at the start, sitting in dead last. So the Americans needed a much better performance here.
Go. So at the mark, New Zealand has the right of way, but as soon as they pass the mark, the French are allowed to turn up towards the wind, force New Zealand out of the way. Here we go, there we go. Aggressive from De La Pierre. Burling responds, but they lose so much speed. Wow, tight move. See how slow the Kiwi boat is here. Pete Burling just about to cross there. As we move up the course now, though, New Zealand's found the new wind. They're showing us 4th.
So it's France, Switzerland, Great Britain, and New Zealand, the top 4. Then it's Denmark, Spain, and the USA. This is the first race of 3 scheduled, but that 3rd one is only for the top 3. And there you see the distance between France and Switzerland, just 12.3 meters, and then a big gap back to Great Britain and New Zealand.
Well, it is, Todd, but New Zealand are foiling. The French are foiling, but Switzerland weren't. There's more wind as you move away from the shore. This camera angle says that it's really close between Great Britain and New Zealand. Great Britain has the right of way. We've got to keep an eye on this. Has Burling judged it right? He's famous for being aggressive. He's pushing it. He's slow. That's going to go to Craig Mitchell. Don't be surprised to see a protest from Great Britain here. And again, New Zealand's going to have to dip behind France. Nothing from the umpires there. I think the penalty would be clear anyway, and New Zealand's going to have to go behind Switzerland. That side of the course is favoured. Big gain for Great Britain, but when he tacks, turns the boat through the wind, as we're about to witness now, it's going to be the French with the right of way. He's going to have to watch out for De La Pierre.
All about keeping those average speeds up. British and French both averaging around 37 kilometres an hour. The British with more fly time hit. These manoeuvres are crucial. Keep up on the foils, your average speed stays higher.
Race number 3, the first race of Sunday. This is leg 3 of 5. They will go through gate number 3, then head back down the course, and then it'll be a short blast to the finish line. And Great Britain has put themselves in a great position, but France still leads.
There's a big turn in the wind. The wind's rotated to the right. We can see Switzerland able to sail nearly straight up the course into second. They'll turn left, and I think they'll be well set for the next leg as France splits the course. What a move by the Swiss. They found the better breeze. They've sailed a shorter distance by getting a good angle. That's the voice of Nathan Outridge, the strategist. Well, pretty good strategist to have at the back of the boat there.
Quicken the pace of the voices you hear on board. It's now Switzerland on the course, leading Great Britain. France has dropped back to third, Stevie, as they are forced to the less pressure side of the course, Emily.
And here we've got French on the left-hand side of the course, the Swiss on the right, and slightly less breeze. Only 18 kilometres now of breeze on the Swiss side of the course, while the French have slightly more breeze further offshore.
Should be good news for the French then. It'll be interesting to see what happens when they come back together. When they come back together, the French will have the right of way, is another thing to add into the mix. But who's called it right? Is it Nathan Outridge in that strategy role, or is it Quentin de la Pierre and Manon at the back of the French boat? Who's solved the problem? Showing us a 20-metre gain to the Swiss at the moment on the ladder, but French have right of way.
Yeah. Getting some in the bank here by going down a bit. Very good. He's looking like he's going to jibe. Starting to come up.
Okay, this is Nathan Outridge, Seb Schneider.
Oh, wow, look at this. They are all coming together.
Oh, this is going to get tight. He's got to miss him here. Wow! Late decision by the Swiss. That's going to cost them a lot of distance. Misjudgment there. It was tight, but they may still make the left turn. French manoeuvre. New Zealand have somehow passed the British. Must have been a good manoeuvre. And here we go. Coming into gate number 4 at the bottom of the course. There's just one leg left here. Todd and Burling and Took on New Zealand. What a move.
Okay, lock it in. Lock it in. We got the front. Yeah, nice. This was taken. High and slow mode, please. Go, Tim.
And it is now a race to the finish. What is going to go? Wow, we had 4 going into that one last gate.
So tight, and New Zealand say they want to turn at the same time as Switzerland. We saw that the side of the course that Switzerland's heading to was favoured on the last time we went into the wind, and don't expect a difference here. Let's get ready for a sprint to the finish.
Not the best manoeuvre there by the French team. We saw their speed drop below 20 kilometres an hour. If we throw back to that last leg, we see how the Swiss sailed so much less distance, 1.6 kilometres, compared to Kiwis who sailed over 2 and did 3 manoeuvres versus the Swiss 1.
Going really nicely here, closing up. 36 is your bottom burn. If you want to try to burn these guys, copy.
Voice of Hannah Mills saying we're going nicely here, and they're trying to work out how to close up towards France. Switzerland and New Zealand, they've done a good job. Wow.
Keep the comms down so Hannah can talk. We've just opened up quite a lot of gauge. Okay, we're closing up now. Yeah, pressure building. 12 seconds. Okay, stand by.
So Hannah Mills doing a great job on the back.
Well, doing a great job in the back, but right-hand side of the screen, that's the battle for first. And New Zealand, well, Switzerland are holding them off. This could be their first race win in SailGP for this new Swiss team. And they're having to do it the hard way. They've got the Kiwis breathing down their neck. There's the finish line, top of screen. Should be 1 or 2 more manoeuvres for both teams, New Zealand and Switzerland. And his Outridge, he's talking Seb through it.
This will be the final maneuver. It'll either be Switzerland or New Zealand getting the win.
New Zealand turns first. That's it. Can Switzerland set a great manoeuvre by the Swiss boat? Can they stay on the foils?
15 degrees press. We've got another tactical.
Oh, New Zealand's getting pretty angry there on board Outridge now. New Zealand, 1 more turn for each boat. Right of bay will be with New Zealand.
And here comes Denmark into the picture.
Yep, we're going to go to ley line and tack around the left mark, and that's what wins the race, okay? Keep it fast. Do not get slow.
And exactly how Nathan Outridge dialed it up. Switzerland goes into the record book as they pick up their first win in SailGP, and it comes in Singapore.
Now I'll get you under the pre-stop in you. Yeah, nice work, thanks. Nice work, Jay.
Switzerland, USA leading the fleet back. Australia way out the back at the moment as New Zealand charge towards the line. It feels like people might be a little late. Certainly Germany look a little late on parade, but it's all about how well they've judged that timing now. Germany spin the boat at the bottom of the line. USA towards the top of the line. Australia, France and Spain look late. We're looking for this line to turn white, and we're going to be go in Sydney for race 4 on Sunday. How's your timing at the top of the line? Great start by the USA, but it's Switzerland and Germany again with a fantastic start. 3 in a row for Eric Heil off the bottom of the line, and it's a drag race to Mark 1.
Coming up to mark number 1 of race number 4 here on Sunday. Germany on the inside line, but look at the speed that Switzerland has.
An aggressive move by New Zealand, forcing everyone wide, secures 3rd place. Fantastic from Eric Heil. And this boundary comes real fast coming in here. It's super closer to the fleet as we see New Zealand first to turn away. Germany in control of Switzerland, and it's all about accuracy of manoeuvres as the boats head off downwind. But look at this, USA are pushed wide and Australia are back in last place at the moment. No good for the hometown heroes right now.
Up here? No, not yet, yeah.
Remember, coming into today, it was Denmark and Australia tied on points. You need to be in the top 3 to get to that final.
Front 3 boats all doing over 60 kilometers an hour as they approach gate 2.
This is where we're going to learn a lot about the course, Todd. Of course, Shark Island yesterday was a real problem. Genesis Island, it's rebranded for this event, and that's off to the top left of our screen. It's all about who can make the gain with minimum manoeuvres. It looks like Germany going to be able to turn left very easily, Switzerland turn right. Who is going to be the first boat to make the overtakes here as we see New Zealand coming in 3rd, but which way's going to favour? Will Switzerland gain sailing away from the wind shadow of Genesis Island, or will Germany gain by minimising manoeuvres heading that way? It's going to be interesting. We're going to learn a lot about the course in the next 60 or 90 seconds.
Elevated heart rates here on the first race. We've got one more fleet race coming up after this one, and then the fleet is cut to only the top 3.
Already we're seeing slightly less pressure on the right-hand side, top of the screen where Germany are. They're down in 18 to 20 kilometers now of pressure, while Switzerland have had up to 23 at the bottom of the screen.
But it's tight. Germany has the right of way. Switzerland need to be assured they're ahead. New Zealand are getting sucked back into the pack here. Outridge had to dip away, but it's Germany. Well, it's all pretty even. Not a lot in that at the bottom of the course there. Switzerland are out in front. What a great moment for this Swiss crew to be leading away, and they've now got control of the race course, and they again look to turn the boat. None of the fleet want to seem to get stuck in what I imagine is the wind shadow of Genesis Island. It's great to have all the fans there, but it's not helping the wind for the fleet. As we see, look at the fleet congested on this boundary. They're over here looking for more wind. As we see a close moment with Great Britain and Canada. That looked like Canada pushed that a bit tight to me.
So a time to shine as you see the ride heights on the left-hand side. That's all about foiling. How high out of the water, Stevie? As we know, the higher you fly, the more unstable the boat is.
Well, it's more unstable, Todd, the higher you fly it out of the water, but there's less boat, there's less foil in the water, there's less drag. If you minimise drag, you're going to go faster. So, yeah, you're racing on the edge, but you've got to be going a little bit quicker.
So the optimum number we're looking for there is around 1 metre. So it's on the limit, but it's quick.
Tight moment there. Germany had to keep clear of Switzerland, but right now Germany are going to be sailing a faster mode. Switzerland are going to be struggling, potentially getting into the dirty wind of Germany, and the right of way is now with Germany. Germany can turn whenever they want to, and Switzerland will need to keep clear. It's really tight in the pack out here today.
So the disturbed air coming off of Germany slowing down Switzerland, and off the right-hand side there you see Emirates GBR. They need a big performance here, although they're probably not going to make the top 3.
No, we have to keep it back. Okay, all good.
Okay, conversation on board Switzerland. They're talking about when Germany manoeuvres, Germany will have the right of way. Switzerland will have to keep clear. Seb Schneider thinks he's going to go behind him. Here we go. Tight cross coming up. It's going to be real close. Switzerland spin the boat away from the wind, hoping to make the right turn. Germany's turning left, and I think that left turn probably is going to be favoured. Germany are sailing back towards more wind, and it's going to be a really tight upwind leg. Look at that, nothing in it on that upwind leg. As New Zealand fight their way back to 3rd, they look to turn left as well.
Bit of traffic. Stay above.
And the race to the final is on. Currently, we're still seeing the same top 3 teams, Denmark, New Zealand, and Australia. France still have some work to do if they want to make it into that final.
Oh, heartbreaker for France, Stevie. This has got to be, what, the 3rd race in a row where they're going to maybe just miss out by mere points?
Yeah, there are a few points back at the moment, Todd, for sure. It's been a bit of a tough break for them, but it's interesting how tight. The wind's a lot steadier today, and the fleet is so congested right now. It's really, really tight. When you're back in the pack, the wind's disturbed, your tactical decision-making's really compromised. If you've got less wind, it's hard to go as fast out there as we see. It looks like a gain to Germany at the moment, but they're going to, when they manoeuvre back towards Switzerland, it's going to be Switzerland with the right of way. Crucial moment for the German crew here.
On leg 4 of 7, race number 4, the first race of Sunday, we've reconnected with Lisa Darmana down on the water. Lisa, what are you seeing, and more importantly, what are you hearing as far as the forecast?
Well, the forecast wasn't looking good, but I can tell you we've got more than we were promised. So I think all the sailors are pretty happy. We've got these 24-metre all-purpose wings and light air boards, so nice big foils for them to try execute the foiling manoeuvres. We don't know if it's going to increase or not. I'm definitely hopeful, but it is really gusty out here, and you've got to be careful not to get trapped under too many headlands and get in light breeze. But yeah, what a race course. It's going to be so tight out here, and I think it's anyone's game, really.
At gate number 4, it is Germany, the first to make the turn. Switzerland sits in 2nd, and New Zealand with Nathan Outeridge filling in for Pete Burling, currently in 3rd. Denmark in 4th. Remember, they're tied on the overall right now. And then you have Emirates GBR and the Aussies in 6th.
Really interesting, as we saw coming in there. New Zealand chose to go behind Switzerland, and a lot of the boats back in the fleet are trying to minimise the number of manoeuvres they do. Every time you turn the boat, be it through the wind, up into the wind, whatever it is, you lose distance. So it's a guaranteed loss when you do that.
And we've just seen Germany there drop off the foils in that manoeuvre. They're back up in foiling now, but that's crucial meters lost when they're trying to hold on to the lead.
Stevie, one thing I've noticed, I think, over this season especially is there's a lot of teams that can get the lead. They can get the whole shot. They can get to mark one first and hold on. It's the teams that can maintain that and stay out in front, because then you see the guys like Tom Slingsby and Nikolai Sehested and, you know, Pete Burling. They're going to come through and they'll find a way to get around you.
Yeah, and it's just the accuracy of the manoeuvres. We saw the United States, their new crew, they're learning on the job, but they fell off the foils. They're hemorrhaging a lot of meters, and when you're in the pack and you're compromised, it's hard to sail the boat as smoothly as this. Look how high the hull of that German boat's flying out the water. They're just doing a fantastic job, but that's because there's no one in their way. There's no one compromising what they do out there on the water. And that just means it's a lot easier. Once you're back in the pack, your decisions are affected, the way you sail the boat's compromised, and if you haven't got that experience, it's hard to be as smooth as that. Near perfect tack from Germany there. New crew, they looked a bit messy yesterday, but put them out in front. They do a great job, Todd.
Well, don't want to give him the announcer jinx, but this would be the first win in SailGP history for the German team. Remember, this is their first season competing, so a huge victory on a very tricky course, Stevie. Remember, we've gone away from light winds to very heavy winds.
And just look at this performance by Germany, 100% fly time, the only team to stay up in the foils for this entire race.
So can they maintain it through all 7 legs here of race number 4? They've got a sizable lead of over 150 meters. Remember, another fleet race still to come with numbers being crunched. And right now, it looks like it could be Australia, New Zealand, and Denmark in the event final to close things out here in Australia.
Well, it's tight, and right now the German crew are sailing a near faultless race. We said staying on the foils, that's great, but they've had 3 fantastic starts in a row, and this is a really solid performance. Again, setting up for the left turn, that's definitely a feature that we're seeing coming away. Top of our screen, that's a bay in there, there's less wind, and Germany, now they've got to be careful. New Zealand are entitled to room to turn inside here. Germany have to give New Zealand room. Are they clear ahead? I think it's tight. I think they're ahead, but don't be surprised for Nathan Outeridge. He's going to press the button and he's going to ask the question of Craig Mitchell there. Germany had to give him room. That's going to go to the umpires.
Did someone flag it?
Nathan Outeridge there, he's saying, did someone flag it? He's saying, did someone press the protest button? Liv Mackay, she's at the back, strategist, hit the protest button, and we'll expect to hear something from the umpires on that decision.
Or not. 2-time Olympic bronze medalist Eric Heil of Germany takes a chance there An aggressive move by Nathan Outridge as he comes in hot, and so far no penalty issued as they are now at mark number 6, and now it is a sprint to the finish.
Yeah, we just heard from Chief Umpire Craig Mitchell that it was very, very close, but it's been given a clear green flag, so great sigh of relief for Eric Heil and the German crew, and it's now just a sprint across there. Perfect execution, they pushed the limit, and they're going to get their reward.
So history in the making on day 2 at the KPMG Australia Sail Grand Prix Sydney, winning race number 4 and picking up their first win. It's Germany's SailGP taking the victory in Sydney Harbour.